Getting hit multiple times coming out of that bike section. More drivers coming to blows.
Well, hello and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back here to Slow Motion Broadcasting, and welcome back to the Ray Esports Weekend Warriors here for the 49th running of the Weekend Warriors V Runoffs. It's myself, Ron Maunz, and Josh Wilkie talking you through all the action here today. Josh, we're here at Watkins Glen for a pretty unique format here for this 49th running of the event. 2 races, 4 different types of cars, the same cast of characters that we usually expect, and a whole lot of fun coming up as well.
Yeah, absolutely, Ron. It's going to be a pretty cool one around here with the slow, fast challenge here today. So you're going to have to pick a slow car or a fast car, and then in the next race, you're going to have to pick a fast car or a slow car, and that is going to throw a little bit of wrench in the gears for some of our drivers today who would probably like to be in all fast cars or all slow cars. So pretty interesting one around here for sure at this layout of Watkins Glen, and I'm looking forward to it, man.
Yeah, it is going to be a lot of fun. To those asking, slow car, fast car, what are we talking about? I'll briefly run you through the format that we have got coming up here today. First up is the Formula Cars, where we have got two out there on track. The ever competitive and always exciting Formula 4s that you see Felix Samoa is campaigning right now, heading his way off through the carousel. And then we've also got the brand new refurbished Formula V, including the old classic beloved Formula V that we've had on iRacing for many, many moons, and the brand new Formula V chassis in the form of the Conqueror and the Cutlass. That's right now that we see right now for Brian Stasinski as he adds his way through the final turn. This is still the new, while the old Formula V car, I should say, and we'll be able to see a couple of more different chassis throughout the day. Here is one of them. That's Andy Middleton. That is the Cutlass. We'll kind of get more in depth talking about the differences in these cars, and you'll be able to see them get put on full display all throughout this first race here. And later on in the Weekend Warriors Summer Challenge that we have for you here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. And then later on, once we are done with this race here for the Formula Cars, we'll be moving over to the sports cars. Now, if you run a Formula V in this race, the slow Formula, you get to run the fast sports car, and the fast sports car in question is the older brother of a car that Mr. Wilkie and I have plenty of experience with. It's the Radical SR8, the old beloved Radical. Of course, now they have the Radical SR10, which Josh and I got our first broadcast start covering the officials for on a different network many, many moons ago. So if you're running in the Formula V here, you get to run the Radical a little bit later on. But if you're running the Formula 4 here, you've got to run the Spec Racer Ford a little bit later on here this afternoon. The track that we're tackling, of course, is the beloved Watkins Glen on the NASCAR Cup configuration as well. Quick laps, quick action, and it's going to be a whole lot of fun here. Getting into the final minute of qualifying, Nathaniel Schramm is currently on the overall pole. Chris Montgomery, top of the qualifiers at the moment in the Formula Vs, right ahead of Tortello, your now two-time and reigning Formula V Weekend Warriors champion in the Spec 1 category.
Yeah, we have all kinds of talent out there today for sure. It's going to be interesting. Even some slow motion broadcasting talent out there as well. We'll cover that a little bit later as we get a real wide line from Jason Chen there taking the NASCAR line through that section of the course. Some pretty interesting lines around here. It took me years, Ron, to get this place kind of down pat. It seems easy kind of on paper perhaps, but there is a lot of difficult corners out here. This final section being one of them. Maybe we'll do a quick onboard lap here with Jason Chan, at least a little above it, down the front straight here, and he is actually going to end the session right there. So Nathaniel Schramm is going to lead us in those F4s. Andy Middleton looking like he's going to lead us in those Vs, and qualifying's over. Looks like we're getting ready to race here, Ron.
Yeah, and we are again ready to rock and roll here for the first race of the day. 30 minutes of racing action coming up here for the Formula Cars, and we'll take a look at your starting grid here in just a couple of moments' time. Let you know how they're all going to line up here for the Formula Cars here this afternoon. It's going to be Nathaniel Schramm, your Spec Racer Ford champion, going to be running them a little bit later on. Began the day off rolling on the best foot forward. He's going to start this race in the Formula 4s from the pole position. Felix Samoes will join him on the front row. Weekend Warriors veteran, Weekend Warriors champion. Jason Chen will start this race in third. Next to him will be Sul Al-Shutwi. It's Rich Meesters from Canada starting this race in P5, next to Richard Harwood in sixth. Joshua Justice will start in seventh. Next to him will be Kane Lasky. Jörg Mani will be in ninth, with Scott Russell completing our overall top 10.
And then in 11th place, we have Steve Saunders. In 12th, David B. Lehman. In 13th, we have Jimmy Latbaka. In 14th, Antonio Reese Super Marino. So he's changed his name up for today. I'm not sure what that'll do for him, but no longer Mickey Onio. He's decided to switch from Disney to Nintendo for today's race. In 15th, we have Edgar Sancinelli. In 16th, we have Dan Sardo. Adam Bradshaw in 17th. 18th, Michael McConnell. 19th, Adam Bradshaw, and that will round out our F4 team, or F4 crew, sorry, and then we will start with our Vs, and Andy Middleton will be leading us in the Vs, Ron, in 20th.
Yeah, Yeah, Andy Middleton running at your top 20, taking the pole in the Formula Vs. Chris Montgomery will start behind him in 21st. Tortolo will be alongside him, making up row number 11. As row 12, we'll see Ian Joyner next to Brian Stasinski there in 24th place. Looking right behind them, P25 at the start of this race. So we get the WD-40 up, rocking and rolling. It's going to be Jim Brewster next to our very own slow motion broadcasting colleague, Mr. J.R. Gregory. Brad Cathcart will start this race in 27th, next to another one of our SMB colleagues, Mr. Guido Marzucchi. Dan Zazinski will be in 29th. Nick Tullo will be in 30th with Jeff Wubker, Jason Grider, Paul Kordeski, and Jake Williams rounding out the full rows. With Jason Kocher, part of the captain of the Sim Racers Group World, and we're starting this race in 35th. Shotgun of the field, running in the Formula 4s that you can catch here on slow motion broadcasting every single Tuesday night over in the SRG series. But now we're rocking and rolling on this pace lap here, Josh. A little bit time to kind of catch our breath preemptively for what is going to be a pretty frantic start to the day.
Yeah, this prospect around here with these two types of machinery here around the first lap is going to be pretty interesting, isn't it, Ron? And of course, we know this section they're actually going through right now. I think probably you and me, I don't remember exactly what race it was, Ron, now, but I believe it was with another broadcaster, and probably the biggest crash I have ever seen in iRacing through this section, where I think maybe only 4 or 5 cars even got out of it. It was absolutely massive, and I've seen many since then through that section as well. So it is a place you got to kind of tiptoe through on your first couple laps there. You got to be really mindful of the cars around you. It is a bit of a hallway that you kind of get forced into, and there's really only one good line through it. Also into this chicane here too. You just got to get yourself sorted out on that first lap is what I'm driving at here, Ron. You got to make sure that you're not playing silly bugger too much there on the first lap or two, or else you really could end up not just taking yourself out, but in a field like this, it could be utter disaster depending on where and when it happens.
Yeah, no, this layout that we're using here today in this event is a frantic and hurried ride. Doesn't matter what kind of car you're running around here. It could be a Formula 4 car, could be a Formula V, could be a Radical SR8, or it could be a spec race for Ford. It is going to be a frantic day for these drivers. Unfortunately, we do have a driver already out, Nathaniel Schramm, suffering a game crash, so he's not going to be running in this first race. But we hope to see him out there on the racetrack a little bit later on when he tackles his bread and butter, that being the spec racer 4s. And of course, you'll be able to catch all of the action all day long here on slow motion broadcasting. But about to get the day's action, the day's racing up and rolling, a competitive field, a split field, and 2 separate starts, waiting for that green flag to come out, which it does now, and the drivers are on their way. Felix Samoa is all alone on that front row, gonna have a comfortable run down into turn number 1 as everybody else fanning out to side by side, and even a little bit of 3 wide racing farther back in the V's. That's a big wreck there in the V start. Multiple drivers scrambling around. I believe that's Chris Montgomery involved in that accident. I think Tortolo may have gotten a piece of that as well. Actually, no, Tolo able to escape that without any sort of harm or foul being done to him. But Brian Stasinski running into trouble. Our very own Jared Gregory picking up a meatball flag. I thought the falling anvils were just limited to Nate Schramm, but unfortunately more drivers getting struck. And speaking of big contact there, Andy Middleton getting pile driven by a Formula 4 car heading out of the section. I believe that was Jake Williams that just came in for the kill.
I'm not exactly sure. I think you might be right there, Ron, and unfortunately just not really judging that distance properly, obviously trying to catch up to this pack from the beginning, and he has just completely ruined Andy Middleton's race there, so that's going to be it for him today, I think, with that front wheel hanging off. We do have a little bit of battling going on back in the pack of the F4s here, a little bit of side-by-side racing going on, but that first lap a little frenetic, Ron. Like I said, this place not exactly the easiest one to get started at times, and we saw exactly why right there. I'm not exactly sure what happened. We will get back to that replay as soon as we can.
Yeah, I'll have to take a look at that soon to see what the deal was. See, we were worried that something like that was maybe going to go down here in this race. It's frantic. It's a very quick racetrack, and these cars are all draft heavy, as you see put on full display right now. Side by side for the overall race lead, Felix Samoa, Sul Al-Shutwi side by side down the backstretch, heading into the bus stop chicane. One of these drivers is going to have to yield, and that driver is Al-Shutwi, although he fought back a little bit and actually going to have to do a little bit of lawn mowing through the turn. He picks up a slowdown, going to drop out of the podium. Jason Chen, Richard Harwood, Rich Meesters, Josh Justice, Kane Lasky, Jurg Monty, Scott Russell, and everybody getting past him, including now David B. Lehman. So Al Shukwi, one small little trip up, heading his way off through that bus stop chicane, and things are going to go from good to bad in the blink of an eye, side by side as well, and a little fight down into turn number 6. Al Shukwi still looking to fight back, just lost out on another position to Steve Saunders, and breathe.
Yeah, lots going on track for sure. We will get to those V's right away here. Just want to quickly grab a little battle here with, oh, and we are having a timing tower issue here as we go across the line. I believe it's just kind of sorting itself out. That is Joshua Justice we're looking at right now, going very, very wide there on the outside of T1. And we've definitely had a bunch of incidents here, haven't we, Ron? And we're going to try to catch up to as much of them as we can here. Go back to the first one here. It looks like perhaps this is a shot here of J.R. Gregory in the wall already, right off the rip. So we're going to have a quick look. Jake R. Williams here. He's going to come around and something's going to happen. I think maybe he got a pit lane start. So let's have a quick look at what transpires here. Jake trying to sneak by on the outside here. He's going to get through, and unfortunately, I think he just scared Chris Montgomery there, and Chris Montgomery unfortunately turned in, took out half the field, Ron. That is not going to sit well, is it?
Yeah, so I'm going to actually reverse on the call that I made a bit earlier on when we saw that incident as the field headed their way out of the S's when we saw Formula V kind of pile drive Andy Middleton out of this race. I said it was Jake Williams at the time. That was a mistake. I apologize. That's Williams, though, heading his way down the start-finish straightaway, running off into the grass, and that's... He started at the back. He did not set a qualifying time, and usually in sports car racing, they have the field split a little bit as you can see Josh Justice nearly just pile driving into the side of, that was Brian Szynski as he headed his way out of the first turn, hit the curb in a bad way coming out of it, and actually popped up the rear axle a couple of inches up into the air. But what happened there was just a classic case of a driver feeling a little bit frustrated from the get-go and being a bit impatient off the start. You just can't do that here in these battles, and in a pack like that, they were 3 wide, and unfortunately Jake Williams just misjudging that in a real bad way. As we take a look at the frantic Formula V racing that we've got going on right now, drivers going 3 wide. Al Shukwi making a little bit of contact as he headed his way off through the turn. That was himself, I believe, Antonio in there. So Antonio Reese, Super Mario Onyo was, oh my goodness me, look at this.
Yeah, we're going to get a good onboard here of just what it looks like trying to get through this pack of V's with Adam Bradshaw. We missed a couple of them coming through, so this is going to be what it looks like to try to get through a pack of V's. And you can see just up ahead of him here, some other F4s getting sort of caught up in it a little bit. Doing a good job here, Adam Bradshaw, so far, holding up a little bit there, making sure he gives them lots of breathing room. Look at that closing distance, Ron. That is a frightening prospect out there on this track here to be going through the V's that quickly. Obviously, difficult to keep up with all of this action out there for sure, and really unfortunate start there. We'll just leave that one for the stewards, I think, Ron. I'm not going to touch that one. If you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. And there wasn't a whole lot nice to say about what happened right there. Not exactly sure what the mindset was on that one, but we are still racing up front here. Joshua Justice making up some positions here as well. Just looking a little bit earlier there, he was not in 5th place. He's now in 5th. Kane Lasky just in front of him, and there's a bit of a pack of cars here trying to get around this V. It's an interesting one out there for sure. Now that we've kind of settled down, looks like everybody's respecting and being pretty clean out there. So hopefully, there was obviously no malice in what happened there, but it was a little bit of a silly move, wasn't it?
Yeah, see, I think it's I feel bad saying it, but these drivers don't really have much of a choice in terms of the frantic moves that they're going here. You think about Watkins Glen on this Cup layouts, even for the stock cars that run around here, it is a short run. 2.5 miles, 7 turns, average speeds are insane. I think the slowest turn that you have on the entirety of this racetrack is probably turn number 1. Outside of that, you are very, very quick. Even here in these low downforce Formula 4s or in the low power Formula Vs is a frantic lap. But with the way these cars are, you got to worry about the draft, which is the reason why these drivers are still packed in like sardines. Part of the reason why Felix Moes is going for a move on Jason Shenhang down into the bus stop. He's going to punch his way back up into the race lead. That was a nice move there. But you think about the draft, you think about the nature of these cars, and another thing hurting these drivers in a sense, because of that lap traffic, you're going to have to deal with it a lot. Not a lot of good overtaking opportunities to get that lap traffic dealt with in a calm and concise manner. And these drivers are going to have to do it a lot. We've already had like 2 runs through of lap traffic. The Formula 4s are setting lap times in the 1:10 bracket. I think the pole time for this race was a 1:10.9 from Nathaniel Schramm. The quickest Formula V time in qualifying was a 1:34. Now, I don't have the mental capacity to, cover this action and operate a calculator at the same time. I'm really good at multitasking, I am. But in terms of percentage, that is absolutely insanity.
Yeah, it really is. It really is quite the speed disparagement there between the two classes. Really cool looking body on those new cars, by the way. I kind of like that front aero package they have going on there. Looks pretty cool. And a new livery on Guido is looking very, very sharp today as well in what I think is still a fart machine. Can't really tell, but it looks like he is ripping a new livery out there and looking pretty good doing it as well. Brad Cathcart looking up the back of the 981. I believe that is Nick Tullo there. Really kind of, and he's going to get into the back of him and just cause a massive accident, flipping and rolling. Wow, yeah, so that was not what you want to see there at all from the Vs. Just going to say that the pack is pretty fractured up and broken after that incident, and then sure enough, we're going to have another one. So that is really unfortunate there. We'll get back and have a replay of that quickly, Ron.
Yeah, we're going to have to run that back. We've seen enough aerial acrobatics so far here in this race. I think we're doing a broadcast of the Olympics. There's a contact and just drivers stacking in. Brad Cathcart, the driver that's just pile driven. Look at that. That, I believe, was Paul Kordesky that was just flipping his way, tumbling even as he headed his way onto the start-finish straightaway. That's the kind of move that Simone Biles would be proud of. That is, the words escape me at times like this. Look at that. That was Jason Chen leading that pack of leading Formula 4s, just blowing these drivers' doors off. I need to go through and see what the pace differential is. Of course, I mentioned the time differential between the F4s and the FVs. In terms of straight line speed, though, it's pretty insane. Those Formula 4 cars, not exactly the quickest race cars in the world, but they're like a Bugatti Chiron compared to those Vs.
Yeah, absolutely. It is making the F4 cars look extremely fast from the onboards here, as if they're going much faster than they are, just because the Vs are, the speed disparagement is so much slower than them. You can see now trying to get around that pack. Third place getting caught up a little bit. I believe that is Richard Harwood getting caught up slightly there in that final corner by the Vs, not able to quite get by, but he should be able to make that up relatively quickly here. As we know, these sort of enduro style racing here almost, or sorry, class racing with different classes, you tend to kind of ebb and flow. It'll taketh and giveth away as you get around the track here. As you can see now, getting slightly held up there just a little bit by some of those cars, those Vs into T2 there, up through this narrow section. Not an easy prospect again, trying to get through here, as we can see even some moves trying to get done while they're passing Vs. It's definitely a stressful one for sure out there, if you're in a V or if you're in an F4.
Yes, I looked into it. This was as of a lap ago. As you can see, Jake Williams fighting down the inside there of Antonio Reese. That was hanging down into the carousel, and that nearly ended in tears for the both of them. I gotta say, I'm not sure what class has been the more frantic. It's probably the Formula 4s, just because we've seen these drivers going for the jugular lap after lap, and you still have, I think the largest gap that we have for all of your top 12 is about a second, which is ridiculous. So we always think that the Formula V racing that we cover on Saturdays is crazy. We always think that the Spec Racer Fords are crazy. We've got those and more. These F4s have put on a fantastic show so far here. I think these drivers are having a bit of fun, if not maybe having some faint panic attacks behind the wheel. As I actually looked into this, I was curious. About 2 laps ago now, Dan Szynski, as he headed his way down into the bus stop chicane, was going about 94. On the outside of him was Jason Chen, your at the time race leader, now dropped down to second as Felix Samoas gets a move done on him for the race lead into the bus stop. He was going 141. That pace differential, I mean, for a Formula V, that's like going on a, just fantastic, Sunday morning walk through the neighborhood, and then all of a sudden having an Exocet missile just buzz the tower right next to you.
Yeah, exactly. It is definitely a little bit scary out there. We're going to watch here. Felix Simo is going to get that one done before turn-in, and that's exactly how you want to get it done. I think we saw an earlier pass attempt there. I believe it was on lap 2. Forgetting exactly who it was now, but not how you get it done at all. You can't go too wide through there. Probably not a good idea to do it that early in the race either. And we saw exactly what happens when you do that. Ended up losing a bunch of positions. And is actually, I think, now digging his way back. That was actually Sul Al-Shutwi, I believe, who went a little bit off the track there and is now making his time back. Very fast, very clean driver on most days there for sure. We can get back from our replay here. Back to some live pictures as they're coming back through the V's here again. Just kind of Groundhog Day with that, isn't it, Ron? You're going to have to get used to passing them. They are kind of broken up now, so they aren't in a big pack like they were at the beginning. A little bit easier to get around, but still not an easy prospect, and you really do have to kind of judge your closing speed and where you're going to get that done. Man, that chicane, always difficult, isn't it? I think I've gone through there hundreds of times, and almost every time I go through it, I'm a little surprised I made it out the other end.
Yeah, it's a heave-ho. Doesn't matter what kind of race car you're going to go through there, and be a little bit puckered, if I'm being upfront and brutally honest. It is a scary ride in these F4s. It's a scary ride in any open-wheeler because you've got the curbs of doom on either side as you head your way through there. Even look at those things the wrong way, and the consequences will be absolutely dire. As in all of the franticness with the F4s, we haven't really talked about the Formula Vs. Now, they have been a bit of a punching bag here in this race. I think that is certainly fair to say, but we've got a pretty good battle up in the front in the class. It's Sortello, your Spec 1 champion in the past season of Formula V competition twice in a row, and series admin in the Formula V weekend warriors, that being Jim Brewster directly behind. A black flag that I'm seeing for Brad Cathcart there as well in the 905 machine. Do have to worry about one little thing that these drivers haven't maybe been considering, and just the sheer terror of what they have had to tackle so far. 13x until you pick up an incident point penalty, and then 18x for a DQ. That's the usual limit here in the weekend warriors as I look away from my screen for 1 minute, and we stack them up big time heading out of the chicane. As we're going to load up the replay to see what happened here. Bad contact, bit of a lunge there from Jake Williams. And everybody's going to stack it up big time. You can see Antonio sliding his way off into the barrier. It was overly opportunistic, I think, at its best, and severe miscalculation at worst there from Jake Williams. Usual standout star in the Formula Fords that we cover here, not the Formula 4s. So I think, unfortunately, there's been a bit of a miscue in that transition over from one car to another. It has not gone over too well one bit.
No, not at all, Ron, not at all. I'm just going to say it. J.Car Williams is an absolute menace out there today. He has ruined the start, almost got in 2 more incidents after that, and has now once again made a very terrible move on the inside into the bus stop. That is not what we want to see. Not something I would usually call out, but honestly, not exactly sure what J.Car is thinking today. That was something else right there, and he has taken probably 10 people out of this race now as that goes. So not something you want to see. Hopefully he will go and think about that one and come back with a clearer head if he's going to do the next one there, because that's not what we want to see here.
Well, you know, for as long as I can remember, I've had memories as we still have this battle up at the front in class. This is Felix Samoa's, Jason Chen, and Richard Harwood battling up towards the front. I gotta say, I love this car from Richard Harwood. It's the old, I believe is that meant to be the old Jordans? I'm trying to remember whether that was a Jordan or I think that was a Benetton look back in the day, because they were both sponsored by 7-Up way back in the day and had that same sort of color scheme there as well. I'm testing my own F1 knowledge live here in time. Either way, we're just past the halfway mark here in this race. Your top three in the F4s are still very close. The meatball flags have been so common. I've seen less meatballs in the food court of an IKEA. This is madness that we've got going on out here on the racetrack, and I don't believe it will be grinding to a conclusion any time between now and the very end. As we take a look, another falling anvil that fell here on Sul Al-Shutwi. Oh, it's contact hang out of the first turn, and they both send themselves off into the wall.
Yeah, again, going a little wide. I think the curb kind of helped him there a little bit, Ron. Looked like he kind of hopped the curb a bit, went a little bit wider than he was expecting there. Really, really trying to extend that exit and go as quickly as he possibly could through that section there, and ended up unfortunately misjudging that one a little bit. So we've lost quite a few drivers here now in and out of this race. Big toss-up in the field there with the V's, of course. We do still have, I believe, Jim Brewster and Tortella are still going back-to-back after each other here, lap after lap, and it looks like they pretty much have this one on lock here, as long as they don't make any sort of a mistake. They're about 8 seconds ahead of the rest of the pack. Then you're going to find Chris Montgomery, Ian Joyner, and Jason Grider just behind them, and they're in a pretty good pack here as well. Looks like they're fairly happy to kind of play musical chairs until the end of the race here. Nobody really fighting too hard for position, but it does look like they've been shuffling around a little bit out there as well. So a bit of attrition out there today, to be sure, right off the bat, but they are still driving out there, are still fighting out there. Back up to the F4s here. David Lehman, I believe, and that's Bradshaw on the outside here trying to make something work into the bus stop. And that one's not actually going to work out quite yet, is it, Ron? The 919 not getting that one quite done. The 303 here just in front now, under attack by David Lehman. That's Dan Sardo just ahead now, clearing, I believe that's Brad Cathcart, who did have a little bit of damage on that machine earlier there. We'll jump back here to Nathaniel Schramm, who's actually made up, I believe, a couple positions here. Maybe we can check our gains at the moment here. Nathaniel Schramm's actually down 11 positions, so not doing too great today. That must have been from right off the bat there. Our biggest climber today, Jason Grider, in the Formula V's, and our second biggest will now be Dan Sardo with 9 positions in that 7th place, Ron. So yeah, a bit of a race of attrition here today. Definitely some good battles going on out there, but off the bat there, it has definitely been sort of a I'm going to have to figure out how I'm going to make this one work situation after that first lap for a lot of drivers.
Yeah, no, that has certainly been true, as we've just had the field blow apart once again in the Formula V's. Josh Justice, Kane Lasky involved in an incident as they headed their way through the chicane, and you can see them trying to rejoin both Lasky and Justice, picking up meatball flags. As let's take a look at here, heading down through the bus stop. Justice hitting the curb in a bad way, slides, and unfortunately Kane Lasky going to auger straight into the side of him. Very lucky escape from Jason Chen to avoid that incident by a matter of inches. Let's take a look at this here from Lasky's perspective. Smoke in the air, and contact being made. Gonna spin through the grass. Meatball flags as a result, and disaster breaking out once again there in the Formula 4s. And all of this, Richard Harwood has escaped out with the race lead. Felix Samoes, Jason, really everybody in that class has had some sort of falling anvil come down on them. Although it looks like Nathaniel Schramm has had a falling anvil come down on him, being marked as 8 spots down from where he was meant to start here in this race. Had that disconnect right before we grabbed the green, so he technically started all the way at the tail end of the field. I think he rejoined midway through the first lap. That was how Harwood was able to take it all. It was a sideways wiggle from Felix Samoes that just got out of hand, hit that curb, went through the dusty part of the runoff area, and gonna loop it around, spin around like a top. And in all of that, it's allowed your Formula 4 field to finally break apart for the first time here in this race. So let's take a look at one more replay of it here for Felix Samoes. Hit the curb. Yeah, it's the curbs here in these Formula 4 cars, and that was Jason Chen actually getting collected in that small little bit of minor contact. I think that may have sown the seeds for the incident that went down a few turns later with Chen, Lasky, and Justice in that frantic battling right there. Lasky, he had to come down pit lane to serve that meatball flag. He'll have to do that in a few laps' time. Otherwise, he will be disqualified from this race. You'll run out of the superlatives after a while to describe exactly what we have seen.
Yeah, 100%. And in the production booth here, I can tell you it is nearly next to impossible to catch up and keep up with all of the action out there. There's so many passes happening, especially because the V's are out there. Every time somebody passes, you get a pass mark on the system here. So it is just frenzy with all kinds of action out there for sure, as well as accidents on almost every lap. We've got somebody faced backwards there up against the wall. Not exactly sure who that was. We'll have a quick peek here on the ticker. It may be J.R. Gregory, and I know he is not used to this V machinery. I believe picking the V so that he can then get in the SR8 for the next race, and I think that would probably be my strategy as well. I don't get to drive those things very often, but it's pretty awesome to see him out there. We're going to because he is, one of our buddies here, we are going to have a look at the incident here. And unfortunately, actually, he's just going to get into one of the F4s there. And, like you said, the F or the Vs today taking a bunch of hits, to being a bit of a punching bag for the F4s. And, just in sympathy with the F4s a little bit, it is difficult out there to get around other drivers. Sometimes you are doing your best to try to kind of progressively and quickly get through, and it can sort of look like you're being flippant about it and that you don't care. And I highly doubt that is the case out there. There is, obviously people trying to get by as quickly as they can, but I'd hesitate to say that anybody's trying to hit anybody out there. It can be frustrating, but it's not an easy thing to do, as we're now watching Adam Bradshaw trying to get around Nathaniel Schramm all over the back of that car, see if he can make it down into the chicane here. One of the better passing spots on the track for sure.
Yeah, and so there are good spots to try and get a move done here, but in the heat of battling, sometimes you will get a little bit desperate. We're going to be fending at 3 wide there with the Formula V of Brad Cathcart there on the inside. Here's a little mellow look. It's Tortello and Jim Brewster battling for the lead in the Formula Vs. I always love when we go from the camera shots of the Formula 4 drivers, just sheer... like a mix of anger. I think here's the best way that I can describe it. It's like listening to music and you go from Pleasant Valley Sunday to like Kickstart My Heart by Motley Crue. That's pretty much what we've got going on right now. Or even like, I don't know, like Glenn Campbell to Motley Crue. That's pretty much what we've got going on right now. This is a Glenn Campbell, and I'm enjoying what we've got right now, riding on board with Jim Brewster, getting a move done here on Tortello. It's mellow, it's relaxed, it's calm, it's tame. Don't look farther in the field. We've got the meatball flag still for Kane Lasky. I'm not sure if he knows he has that meatball flag, and he picked that up a couple of laps ago. So I would not be too surprised if that black flag with the orange circle in the middle all of a sudden becomes a black flag with a white cross going through it, meaning he's been disqualified.
Yeah, I think so. That meatball, never something you want to see up there, and Kane Lasky picked one up. Either A, he's trying to kind of, just run it out as far as he can until he goes in, or B, doesn't know about it, or maybe even C, just doesn't care, and he's just going to run till it pops off there at the end, and it will actually eventually just zap you from the session. But you're right, you move up and see these two Vs back and forth here, and they're kind of, have time to make their moves, and there goes that flag right there. So he is going to get DQ'd from the race for not pulling in to the pit. So that is going to end Kane Lasky's race today a little bit up and down for sure on that. We can see in the background there, Chris Montgomery actually having a bit of a train of cars behind him. So we do have a bit of a race here for, I believe this is going to be 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. As the 22 starts to catch up to them now. Not exactly the place that you want to get this done necessarily, but he is going to think twice about it before he gets through on that Benetton car run.
Oh, this is going to get intense. I didn't think that we would see something like this, but because of some bad lap traffic encounters, and I think maybe a little bit more, Richard Harwood is now at risk of losing the lead of this race in the final 5 minutes. Jason Chen is right there. The gap is only 0.4 of a second as they head their way into turn number 6. Handful of laps left to go. Still plenty of opportunities for Jason Chen to get this move done. At this point, you gotta wonder what sort of thought process is going on behind the wheel for him. Harwood and Chen, drivers that we've really first gotten to know as Formula Ford racers here on iRacing, drivers in the FF1600s, both here in the Weekend Warriors world, as well as in the iRacing officials. That's a bad curb whack there from Jason Chen. It picks up those two inside tires, and you basically feel like you're flying a kite heading out of these turns. And in that F4 car, if there's one thing I know about these cars, it's that they're like go-karts. And if there's one thing I learned from my time in karts, weight transfer and bad curb whacks usually spell disaster. We've seen it go down already here in this race. We could see it wreak havoc on either of these contenders as they try and battle for the win. 4 minutes left to go, 0.3 of a second, 2 drivers looking for 1 spot.
Yeah, absolutely, Ron. That's going to be a good one right to the end. It looks like we did have an incident here with Nathaniel Schramm, Jeff Wubker, so we're going to have a look at... and just going to get a spin from that V in front of him and nowhere to go, unfortunately. So no malice, no real incident there other than that it was a big incident and was not purposeful at all. But that's going to end Schramm for that one, unfortunately. So more attrition here at Watkins Glen while we count down the wee hours of the race here in the 25 chasing the 22, that being Jason Chen and Richard Harwood leading us in the F4 class. A bit of a fight as well going back there. If you jump back here from Tortello to Jim Brewster, Tor now actually able to get a bit of a gap going on Jim Brewster here. That's going to actually put him out of draft range a little bit. So if Tor does makes an incident, or sorry, has an accident or some sort of a mistake here, maybe Jim Brewster's got a chance. But if he can stay out there and keep it clean, that might just be his race. He may have done enough here to keep Jim Brewster off until the end.
Yeah, so that may be game, set, match in the Formula Vs, but in the Formula 4s, it is not. Jason Chen, now your race leader. Richard Harwood down in second place. Felix Samoa is still holding on to an uncontested podium spot, currently running in third right now with a 5-second gap between he and Meesters. Let's take a look at how Jason Chen was able to take the race lead. He was applying that pressure, laying it on as thick as icing on top of a wedding cake through turn number 1, gets on the inside through 2, up the hill and through the S's, side by side racing through here. Usually is a terrifying prospect. These drivers very respectful in their approach, still side by side as they headed their way onto the back straightaway, but finally Harwood yielding and Jason Chen able to punch his way up into the race lead. He jumps into that top spot with a few moments left to go here in this race. 2 minutes left on the clock, and disaster for Rich Meesters as he's picked up a meatball flag.
Yeah, that is unfortunate. It looks like maybe simply just an off track here. One too many incidents today. Probably some of them not his fault. Probably some of them some off tracks, and he's actually going to have a pretty big spin and smash the front end off that car. So very unfortunate for Rich Meesters in the wee hours of this one. My fellow Canadian there. Beautiful livery on the car today, by the way. Unable to finish this one by the looks of it. I think he's going to pull that one in.
Yeah, so unfortunate there. He could have pulled off a Kimi Räikkönen or a Gilles Villeneuve, but I'm not sure if iRacing would be kind on that. Actually, if no, and that's Brian Szynski. Falling anvil coming down on him as he headed his way off through the S's. Spun around in the worst opportunity and having to tow, rightfully so. There's really no way to bounce back from a moment like that. That was the other 32 of Adam Bradshaw that he made contact with. So I believe that's Adam Bradshaw Sr. Adam Bradshaw Jr. usually runs the more kind of pinkish paint schemes in the 205 machine. Bradshaw Sr. in the other 32 and making that contact there. Speaking of, I didn't know that we had a replay spooled up. Adam Bradshaw Jr. having his own worries. Sideways wiggle all through the bus stop, and he tags the wall himself.
That was a pretty textbook one through that section, and I think everybody who's ever been through that section has done almost exactly that. Get a massive tank slapper off the curb as we get now. I believe that's Jason Chen is going to take the lead of this race in the wee hours. We maybe have one lap left. Is this the final lap, Rod? I'm not sure. We may actually be on the final lap here as Jason Chen gets by Richard Harwood for perhaps what is going to actually win him the race here. But that is quite the move through the bus stop, is it not, Ron?
And so Jason Chen, who took the race lead, is about to take the checkered flag as Harwood getting called out with some Formula V lap traffic as he heads his way through the penultimate turn. But here's Jason Chen onto the start-finish straightaway. It's going to be victory for him here in the most stressful Formula 4 race in mankind's history. Harwood ends up in a very close-knit P2. Gotta wonder what went down there at the end, because Harwood was dropping down, and then you could see them very close as they headed their way off through the other carousel. But either way, it's Harwood ending up in second. Felix Samoas runs at your Formula 4 podium in third. Tortello is going to win it in the Formula Vs. I believe these cars have indeed taken the checkered flag.
Well, maybe so. Yeah, you know what? They were so far behind here. I think maybe some of them have and some of them have not. So I think Tor and Jim are still on a lap, whereas some people that were farther behind them have actually finished. It looks like he's still at racing speed here anyway. He hasn't given up quite yet, but I'm not 100% sure. Either way, Tor has taken this race. Jim Brewster will take the second. Jason Grider, it looks like he's actually taken the flag here, so he is actually pulling over at the moment while Tor and Jim are still out there running around the track. But either way, Ron, that was quite the race of attrition. Really hard to keep up with here in the booth with all of that speed differential going on out there and so many accidents. Lots of attrition today.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what words what words really exist in the English language to describe how chaotic that race was. I'm actually going to give this a whirl here as we take a look to see Jason Shen here coming around to take the end of this race. A pretty good fight back there. We saw him like, what was that, about 4 seconds back, right towards the end of that race, and he was able to mount a charge, get the move done on Richard Harwood, and punch his way up into that spot. Maybe a little bit of damage on that race car as well. It doesn't look like it, but you gotta wonder whether one of those wheels was slightly askew after he got a piece of multiple incidents throughout that 30-minute long race. And a shout out as well to Tortello, who through the smoke and the chaos of that race was able to get a very good result down himself, wins it in the Formula V's. We'll be seeing all these drivers throughout the other Weekend Warriors Summer Shootout Series here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. In the meantime, though, we will take a look at your race results here for the first race of the afternoon before we head off into the sports cars just here in a few moments' time. That's Jason Chen grabbing the victory in the F4s. Richard Harwood ends up directly behind him, 8.5 tenths of a second at the end of 30 minutes. Very competitive in those F4s. Some would maybe say too competitive. Felix Samoas ends up in third, Dan Sadro in fourth. A good fight back there from Sadro throughout this race. In fact, he was able to get into the top 5. We didn't really talk about it too much throughout that race. Always methodical in the Weekend Warriors. Weekend Warriors veteran in his own right holds on to fourth at the end of this race. Michael McConnell will be in fifth. Josh Justice in sixth. Edgar Sentinelli in seventh. It's Rich Meesters, David Lehman, and Adam Bradshaw Jr. completing your top 10. Adam Bradshaw Sr. ends up in 11th. Jörg Mani is in 12th. Jimmy Litbacka in 13th. Steve Saunders in 14th place. Nathaniel Schramm has a falling anvil come down on him for the second time already here. Hope to see some better fortune in the spec race for Fords later on, with Kane Lasky completing your first gaggle of F4 competitors.
Yeah, and then we jump into our Formula V winner of Tortello. Great race for him out there, and Jim Brewster keeping it clean between each other for that whole race. There, you can see there 5 laps down, but that is going to be in regards to those F4s out front that have so much more speed than these cars. Jason Greider going to bring it home in third, Chris Montgomery in fourth, Ian Joyner in fifth, and sixth, Jan Trzynski in seventh, Guido Marzucci eighth, Nick Tello ninth, Brad Cathcart 10th, Paul Corradicini in 11th, Brian Straczynski and Jeff Wubker will be in 11th, and those are going to pretty much finish our drivers who finished on that lap. Actually, you know what? We actually have some. These are drivers that pretty much didn't finish the race here. Al Shutwi, Scott Russell, J.R. Gregory, Jake R. Williams, Antonio Reese, Andy Middleton, and Jason Kocher, who I believe did not start this race today. So lots of attrition out there today, Ron. Not an easy prospect to get out there and race. With these cars that have such a big speed differential for each other. You need a ton of respect out there, and unfortunately we just saw a little bit of wrecking ball action early on there. Not the greatest way to start her off today.
Yeah, and hoping for a little bit more fortune later on here in the sports cars. I think I've figured out a way that we could describe this race. This will break the fourth wall a little bit, show you the slight delay that we have here between what actually goes down and what goes live. So alrighty, so this is being put in the YouTube chat right now. You'll see on my account to describe this racing. I believe that is Kessel Jill de double guff cuff. So that's the word that we use to describe this first race of the day. Kessel Jill for double guff cuff. Let's move off into some interviews. I think we have a little bit of downtime between the two races. Yeah, let me have a chat with Jason Shen, who was able to peek his way through the smoke and the chaos of a very frantic first race of the day. Jason, welcome into the booth. Been a little while since we had a chat, so I hope you've been doing well, and I hope your heart rate has returned to a good level after what looked like the most stressful F4 race in mankind's history.
It was fun, actually. I was trying to take it chill. I know from practice how bad tire wear on the left side, especially the left front, is. So I just kind of tried to actually maybe take like 1 or 2 miles per hour slower through some of the fast right-handers than I could. Try to not push the tire to like my idea was to have a maybe slightly better, less overheated tire towards the end of the race. Yeah, I guess you saw on the broadcast, had to avoid 2 spinning cars and lost some time, somehow got away with no damage. Yeah, I thought it was fun. Yeah, I was trying to just starting from the front and knew that I was in a good position, so knew I probably had good pace, so I just needed to survive.
Yeah, it was really just a game of survival of the fittest here in this race, but you proved to be the fittest in the F4s and you grabbed the victory. What are your thoughts heading off into the Spec Racer Ford race here in a few moments?
Yep, trying to do the same. Well, obviously being the slower class and watching the mirrors a lot, but I'm gonna try to do the same strategy of like trying to preserve my left-hand side tires. Let's see if it works.
I hope to see you back out there on the racetrack, having another good race in those Spec Racer Fords coming up. Jason, thank you for joining us, and well done on the F4 win.
Thank you.
And that right there was Jason Chen, our F4 winner. Have a quick little chat, shall we, with Jim Brewster before we move off into that race. Just a little bit of downtime, so I'll make this one quick. Jim, welcome in. I think the Formula Vs and that battle between you and Tor was probably the calmest bit of racing that we had out there on the racetrack. The F4s resembled more of a war zone than a racetrack, so how was it from your perspective?
Well, you know, when they took out, the F4 came down the grass on the start and took Chris out, and then going up the hill, they took out one of the other leaders. So all of a sudden, it was just me and Tor, which, you know, from Brands Hatch last week, I'm used to hanging around with Tor. So we were swapping back and forth, but he was getting the second half of the lap in the front. So then I was trying to swap the order so that I was in the front. And then, unfortunately, on lap 17, F4 got between us in turn 1, and I lost him. So, but that was a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Yeah, that definitely looked like some fun. I think the other word that I used to describe that race was just plain keyboard smash in the YouTube chat of the broadcast, that being Kessel Jill for double guff cuff. So looking forward to seeing you out there. Are you going to be running in the Radical SR8 coming up?
I'm here. There? I'm in the pits. Yeah, I've been practicing all week because that sneaky, you know, Stevie didn't tell us what track, and its SR8 is more fun than, you know, a bag full of wet cats. So I practiced 18 different tracks this week because, you know, Stevie wouldn't name one, so I just practiced them all. And this car is so much fun. It has this, you know, this is that Hayabusa V8. You know, they take two Hayabusa motors and make a V8 out of it.
So cool.
And so it's just an unbelievable motor. And so I, you know, setting the fastest laps I've ever set on most tracks. In fact, I think this will be the car I'll use from now on to learn new tracks with. Oh, by the way, the new San Diego track is an absolute blast in the SR8. I did a whole lot of time there. It was a lot of fun. Anyway, hey, let's go have some fun, guys. And hopefully the slower car leaders won't get beat up as much.
Yeah, those
Remember, we're Formula V drivers driving rockets, so you never know. I mean, Formula V drivers in general are very polite and smart, but now you give us this pocket full of dynamite and we just might be drunk monkeys.
Yeah, you know, I was gonna say that you Formula V drivers in this race were probably getting more bullied than I was in middle school. It was a rough ride for y'all, but Jim, I'll let you enjoy that Radical SR8 race. Good luck.
You bet. See you later, guys.
And that right there was Jim Brewster, P2 in the Formula Vs. But folks, we're going to step aside here, get ready for the sports car race coming up here. This is the 49th Ray Esports Weekend Warriors V Runoffs, and we'll be back with a slightly different style of racing right after this.
back, getting hit multiple times. Coming out of that bike section, more drivers coming to blows.
And we are back here on Slow Motion Broadcasting for the 49th running of the Weekend Warriors V Runoffs. I'm not really sure what can be said about the other first race that we had here, but I think most of the Formula 4 drivers would probably be all right with lobbing a grenade at Bambi's mother. So hoping for a bit more tame racing here in the other second half of the afternoon. Myself, Ron Maunz, and Josh Wilkie talking you through the action here all day long. And Josh, now we've got ourselves a very intriguing prospect, even more intriguing than the first race. It's the Spec Racer 4 that we all know and love, but with a unfamiliar foe. How about you tell me a little bit about this wonderful, this absurd, this wacky, and awesome sounding Radical SR8?
Yeah, this car is one of my favorite cars in the service. Not only is it absolutely gorgeous, in my opinion, just a beautiful, consummate race car. You could not... It is a coat befitting a race car, I think is the way I would put it. It looks like a race car. It sounds like a race car. And it is a very visceral machine to drive around. It's light, it's fast. I believe it has 2 Gixxer engines bolted beside each other, so it makes a V8 out of it, which is totally insane. It revs insanely high. This car has a sick livery on it. I'm pretty excited about it, if you can't tell. I really wish I was out there actually racing in this thing. iRacing, if you're listening, please, please, please give this car the treatment. Please bring it up to spec so we can all race it again. We all love it so much. The new Radical's fine, but man, oh man, this thing is just a machine and a half. Listen to it. It's just beautiful.
God, that thing sounds absolutely awesome. We'll have to, yeah, here we go. And wait for the downshift here. This is going to be good. Oh, yeah. I think the comparison, Josh, that I made in that little intermission as we were getting loaded into this next session, saying that this is kind of the sports car version of the Lotus 79. I think that's really true. It's kind of those old-fashioned kind of, just turn the steering wheel, you put the front end wherever you want, you steer out of the turns, you power out of it. It's kind of like an analog-style race car where you are at the absolute limit of control, at the absolute limit of adhesion, doing stuff that you didn't think would be possible, but it somehow is.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It does kind of make you just feel like a bit of a superhero. Once you get those tires warmed up, it's got enough downforce on it to crush it into the track, so you can take really high-speed corners at very high speed. It accelerates like a monster. It's super light. The only thing I ever had an issue with it before was the old tire model just kind of seemed to give up on you every once in a while in areas where it didn't feel like it should, but you learn how to manage stuff like that when you're driving it. We're just going to watch Andy Middleton here take this chicane. I want to see exactly what kind of line he's going to take, and not going to take too much curb. And it does really upset this car. That is one thing about it, is it is light, and it doesn't like really big bumps, especially at lower speed when it doesn't have that downforce strapped onto it. Going to take this NASCAR line, but not nearly as wide as we were taking them a little earlier in the F4 car. But imagine this thing's actually got a considerable more amount of downforce on it than that car does. But again, just awesome cockpit views here from Andy Middleton ripping around Watkins Glen in the SR8. What an awesome car. It makes me wish I was out there for sure, Ron.
Yeah, and I can't remember the last time that I drove the other Radical SR8 on iRacing. It's been a little while. I think the last time I drove it. that's a funny shot.
So funny.
Just one
Track
side
limits.
to the other, just gone into the yeah. It's hey, if it works, it works. But no, I was just gonna say it's been a little while since I drove the SR8 myself. But the last time I was on iRacing, which was for the first time in about 6 or 7 months, was this past week running the Lotus 79. This was, talk about a trial by fire. First time I hop in the rig in months, and it's the Lotus 79 at the Nordschleife. I had a lot of fun, even though I made a complete, for lack of a better term, made a complete ass out of myself. Thankfully, I was just running in a test drive session, so that embarrassment was strictly just recorded on my own time and will probably never see the light of day. I pulled off like a couple of 360s, didn't hit the wall at any point in time, but that is definitely a trial by fire of a combination, if ever it has been seen. But folks, you can see the catalog of drivers that we've got competing in these cars. Of course, with the SR8, we have got the yin to the yang with the Spec Racer Ford. Nathaniel Schramm, who's running in the F4s earlier, now running in this car. Yes, to those just tuning into the show, the format that we have got here, it's slow car, fast car. So if you drove the slow Formula car, aka the Formula V, you now get the opportunity to drive this SR8. That's why Tortello, who was the quickest there, is out here on the racetrack in the SR8. J.R. Gregory, who was there. Everybody that you can see in the Radical was running in the Formula V earlier. And anybody who was in the F4s now gets a chance to drive in this car. Now, those F4 drivers treated those Formula Vs kind of like Rodney Dangerfield got treated throughout his life. I'll tell you, I got no respect. This is going to get very fun come time for lap traffic, because the shoe's now going to be on the other foot.
Yeah, absolutely. And great analogy there, Rodney Dangerfield. Probably one of the best comedians of all time. One of my favorites anyway, for sure. Maybe Don Rickles. Those two pretty much wrote the book. And definitely got no respect last race at all in those Vs. And, that's just the way it is. Even sometimes if it looks like people are trying to respect them, it can sort of, or sorry, if they are respecting them, it can look like they're not. On track a little bit, because you do have to dispatch of the slower cars, and you got to do it in a rather timely manner. you want to do it faster than your competitors, right, Ron? So sometimes that can look a little bit flippant. It can look a little bit like they're just in the way sort of thing, and technically I suppose they are. But of course you're not supposed to treat it that way. Jason Chen here in the 25 now, having to drive that slower car in the SRFs. Would be interesting to see what he can accomplish here, and it looks like he's in about 6th place now, as far, or maybe 7th place, 6th or 7th place here as far as lining up in those SRFs. Andy Middleton way out front in the SRFs there. You can see up on our timing tower with a 105.9. Closest to him is going to be a 106.3. So clearly has a little bit of a speciality here in that SR8 up front from Ian Joyner. Ian Joyner, we know, very fast driver, and not able to get real close to that. You can then look down to kind of Felix Samoes here and Richard Harwood. Again, you're going to have a pretty big gap with a 21.4 to a 22.0. So that's a pretty big gap there between the SRFs as well, although we know they draft so well that draft's, that gap's going to clear up pretty quick, I would think, and hopefully some drivers will find their lines out there. Notable mention here, J.R. Gregory up into 7th place in the SR8, so definitely has his hands around this one a little bit more confidently than, let's say, that V last race. So I'm looking forward to a pretty good one here, Ron. You got two really nice sounding cars. Something I wanted to mention about the SRF too. I think, maybe split the community a little bit, but this one sounds pretty good as well. As far as iRacing cars go, I know they are doing a massive update to their audio engine here in the next few seasons, and we should get some much better sounding cars. Some of them just don't sound good at all. They sound very digital. Others sound awesome, the SR8 being one of them.
Yeah, I do want to give some love to JR. Of course, he is one of our colleagues here at Slow Motion Broadcasting. But, between JR and the both of us, Josh, we all got our starts in this iRacing broadcasting stuff, around about the same time back in the spring of 2023. I believe I was first up on the docket in March of 2023. I did the Radicals for, I think, 2 weeks, then did my first ever Weekend Warrior show in place of our own colleague, Mr. Charles Beauchel, alongside our old pal Tim Cox on that. It was 57 cars at Road America. That was a trial by fire of a broadcast, but then you came along as kind of an associate producer in training not too long after that, and then JR came around, and we were on those shows for quite a lot of moons until management at another network decided to split us up and replace us with the equivalent of a wet paper bag, and then things moved over onto the iRacing channel, where I was on there for many moons. But gotta say, we got more soul here on these broadcasts. We got a lot of soul with these cars, got a lot of soul with these drivers, and we have a lot of fun for the second race coming up here. Drivers lining up on that provisional grid before we get this pace lap up and rolling, so we have plenty of time to take a look at your starting grid. Andy Middleton will grab the overall pole position. Ian Joyner will join him on the front row. Brian Szynski will start in third. We're looking at the overhead view of his 841 car right now. He'll be next to the Aussie of Brad Cathcart. Chris Montgomery will start in 5th. Tortella will be alongside him in P6. J.R. Gregory from the Flying Line Racing car. I gotta see that. It's a good looking paint scheme there on the number 2 machine. I'm also biased because the number 2 used to be my old karting number. He'll be starting on row number 4 next to your 8th place starter of Jason Grider. It's Jim Brewster starting this race in position number 9 with Guido Marzucchi rounding out your top 10.
Yeah, and then Jeff Wubker will be in 11th place. Actually has not taken to the grid yet. Dan Szynski is going to be... Oh, actually, I just completely lost my place there. Is in 12th place. There, I got my hands busy here as well. In 13th place, we have Nick Tullo. First for the SRFs will be Felix Samoes. In second, Nathaniel Schramm. In third, Daniel Asardo. In fourth, we have Joshua Justice. Fifth, Kane Lasky. In sixth, Jason Chen. And in seventh, from Canada, Rich Meesters.
And then looking from there after Meesters, we've got Scott Russell starting this race in the 222 car in 21st. Richard Harwood in 22nd. Adam Bradshaw Jr. will be in 23rd next to Steve Saunders starting this race in 24th position. And from there, starting outside of your first 12 rows, we are going to find your 25th place starter here in this
getting
race.
Busy with the camera. Sorry, Ron.
There we go. Yeah, quite all right. No worries. Antonio Reese in the Super Mario car.
I love it.
See, here's the thing. Disney, I think I could get down with, taking name inspiration from Nintendo. That's that is I'm not sure what the copy.
They're taking over, man. They're gonna take over soon.
Nintendo. I'm convinced that there is only like one company that's more powerful than Nintendo in this world, and that is probably Exxon or something like that. Adam Bradshaw is going to start this race in 27th next to Jörg Mani on the row right behind here. 14th row will be Jimmy Lebacka from Sweden. Michael McConnell will be in 29th with Edgar Sancinelli completing your 30 cars classed here in this race. But we do have drama right off the bat. Andy Middleton not taking to this formation lap, so that's going to be Ian Joyner assuming the pole position.
Yeah, already we have, I'm not sure if that's a pit start or who knows. I do know, actually, anybody out there who's having trouble with iRacing today, if you do your graphics config again, it should solve your issues with crashing. I know mine crashed about 5 times before today's broadcast, and I looked it up. Decided to do a graphics config fix, and that seems to have fixed the issue here for me. I haven't crashed yet anyway, fingers crossed. That seemed to do it for me while I was going into settings and so on. So we might see a couple more dropouts between now and then. Let's hope not, but it very well could happen here. Radicals getting through the bus stop here as now the SRFs make their way through it. Let's hope, Ron, that we have a little bit cleaner of a first lap here. I don't think we have any pit starters, maybe one. And if we do, that they are able to clear traffic a little bit better than we saw happen in the first race there. But I am excited to see these SR8s race. It's been a really long time since I've seen them on track, Ron, and I'm pretty excited to see it happen here for sure.
Yeah, no, I think this race is going to be a bit more smooth. The pace differential between the SR8 and the SRF is a bit lower when it comes to straight line speed in terms of actual speed out there on the racetrack. In terms of lap time, well, the Radicals were setting lap times in the 105s. The SRFs were in the 120s. So not the largest gap in the world. Still pretty severe, but could be a heck of a lot worse. And thankfully for the Spec Race Fords, one SR8 driver that will be behind them is Andy Middleton, who was one of the drivers that got shown the door on lap 1 in that Formula race earlier on. Waiting for that green flag to come out, though. The SR8 drivers and the Spec Racer Fords now there at the back of your shots, waiting for that green flag, which now arrives, and the drivers are on their way. Fantastic start from Brian Sazinski. Got to jump in front of Ian Joyner right off the bat, as side-by-side for third. That's Chris Montgomery, Brad Cathcart squabbling up for the final podium spot as we look at your Spec Racer Fords up and rolling down into turn number 1. It's a brilliant start there from Felix Samoa as he's going to lead him off ahead of turn number 1. Through the S's, as up at the front of the field overall. We've now got a side-by-side battle for the top spot. Ian Joyner looking for it on Brian Sazinski, heading down into the bus stop chicane. One of these drivers is going to have to back out of it, but it's not going to be either of them. Sazinski finally yields through the second part of that chicane. He drops down to second, Joyner up to the front.
Yeah, a little bit more congested here in the Formula, or sorry, getting all mixed up, so many cars today in the SRFs here, but they are going to sort it out through that bus stop there and get it done with no incident. Kane Lasky looking just ahead, just behind him. You have a side-by-side battle with Rich Meesters and the 205. They're going to get it sorted out now. Nope, they're still going to be side-by-side, so pretty clean lap here so far from our drivers, but of course we have not quite yet made a lap to pass those SRFs, and I have a feeling when they get there, Ron, these SRFs might be in a pack for most of the race because they do like to draft pretty heavily. It's going to be interesting here to see how these SR8s are able to get around those SRFs lap after lap, isn't it, Ron? Pretty interesting stuff now as Ian Joyner's going to lead us into our first lap. Brian Shazinski just behind him with some great pace today.
Yeah, so a brilliant start for this field. They're keeping it smooth. They're keeping it tidy. I don't want to jinx it, though, so I'm going to leave it off at that. Ian Joyner, still your race leader. Brian Sazinski up into second. Keeping my eyes as well. Andy Middleton has not rejoined this race, so it is going to be 29 drivers grabbing the green flag and staying out here on the racetrack to start. 12 drivers in the Radical SR8s. Now, whether that field gets whittled down, only time will tell. But I know one driver that's going to be kind of pointing out to myself in my own brain there, as that didn't make an ounce of sense. Let me try that one again. One driver that's going to be sticking out to my head is Brad Cathcart. We're right on board with him right now in the 905 machine. The Aussie is a Weekend Warriors veteran. We see him compete week in and week out in the weekend warriors, whether it be in the Spec Racer Fords where we usually see him, the Formula Vs where he's run in the past as well, along with the Formula Fords where I believe he's made some appearances. But the main reason why he's standing out to me is his talent to go from one car to another. He's a pretty solid contender in XSLR that will be returning here to Slow Motion Broadcasting in the not too distant future. So he knows what it's like to go from one extreme to another. It's pretty much the same sort of discipline of racing. It's still asphalt road racing, but going from a V into an SR8, from one extreme to another, it is a great change. So I think Brad Cathcart may be able to take to it like a duck to water. Hopefully I didn't just jinx him, but I think he's going to have some strong pace here in this race.
Yeah, I think so for sure. Once you kind of get racing here and the draft gets going, and there was some speed differentials there in qualifying, but that's something you can kind of sort out during the race as well, especially if you have a fast driver in front of you. You can learn a couple cool lines. You can maybe you were shifting a little bit differently and you notice it on the first couple laps, and then you're able to actually do something about it. As we're going to try to go too wide here through the bus stop, going to sort it out just before we get there. The likes of Richard Harwood, Josh Justice, and Scott Russell there able to sort it out just before we get there. Jason Chen just following behind them, a lot tighter here of a pack of cars in the SRFs. That's exactly how we figured it would be because they draft so well out there. Scott Russell now going to look up the inside of the 25 of Jason Chen. He's going to hold him to it. Looks like he's going to be able to get that one done. Not generally a place you want to stay side by side here. If I was Jason Chen, I probably would have let that one go and maybe live to fight another day, but he's actually going to get on the inside here. That is going to slow this entire pack down, and they're going to lose a little bit of distance between them and the cars in front, and now end up going 3 wide into T1. So you can see just how these decisions do affect the sort of the ebb and flow of a race out there. Perhaps if Jason Chen files in behind Scott Russell, leaves that for another day, they maybe wouldn't have lost that time to the cars in front, and they wouldn't be in such a big pack right now. But it is hard to tell. Sometimes that's not how it works out at all, and not fighting for that position as they're going to go 3 wide, sandwiching the 25 in the middle. He's going to get through it though, Ron. Some pretty clean driving here from this pack of drivers. Of course, we know all veteran SRF boys out there, so doing a good job.
Yeah, so very lucky to escape that, as they're still not getting off the gas as we ride on board. Dan Sadro going to pick up a spot there. Jason Chen running wide.
Oh, bummer.
The first part of the chicane, losing out on that spot. He's still, within a good shot of getting a good result here, but a small little mistake like that won't want to have any more of those, as it has been very tame.
Oh!
No, I jinxed it. Contact, huge hit, heading down the short chute, and more drivers piling in.
It's gonna get worse.
3, 4, 5 drivers make that a 6th. And here comes the SR8 drivers having to split the difference there with the wounded car of Scott Russell. I spoke too soon. I jinxed that so badly. I apologize.
Oh man, right when we were just talking about it, unfortunately, it did kick off there, getting into the back of Scott Russell, unfortunately. We'll have to go back and have a quick look at that as well. There was a multiple car accident after that as well. I believe when the SRH tried to get through there, a couple of them got caught up in that as well. So really, really unfortunate there, Ron. Now racing here, I believe up front, Felix Samoas, Joshua Justice and Richard Harwood now are left up front here. And there are the SR8s. They are going to be catching them. Ian Joyner just behind them here. We'll jump on board, going side by side as we get to the chicane. We're going to jump on board with them here and just see this closing distance, how hard it is to get by these SRFs. He is going to have to let off and think twice about it. Going to get past on the outside there. So some great moves happening here in the SRFs. That's exactly, in the SR8s. That's exactly how it's done right there. You need to monopolize on those opportunities when you have them. JR Gregory now up to 3rd place as well. So we'll get caught up on some replays there, guys. We did have a little bit of attrition. We did lose some SR8s there, but still having some great racing here up front.
And keeping our eye on the penalties. There's one for Brian Szynski. He has a black flag, slotted in 9th at the moment as Chris Montgomery. Oh, as you can see, right towards the tail end of that contact and already going down. Kane Lasky grinding to a halt there. Really no brakes that he had at that point in time. As my goodness me, that was a terrifying view for me and Joyner, who nearly saw his chances of victory go down the tubes with a bad encounter there. Let's take a look at this from the SRA's perspective. This is, you see smoke in the air, and much like watching a Top Gun movie, it is disaster going on around you.
Yeah. Oh, and that's going to be one of the Stasinski brothers there. Took a big one. We'll see if we can't get on board with him for that one as well. But, yeah, you can just see, like you're saying, Ron, on board there when you're looking forward and there's just chaos in front of you. You're not really sure what to do. You know, your the gamer instinct, it's, wow, going to make some indecision there with Josh Justice getting around. Not sure who that is in that black SR8, but did a really good job of staying out of the 99 there. But, yeah, a little bit of indecision happening around the track there for sure. Not easy to make those passes when they count. But, yeah, you know, when you're looking forward at chaos like that, the gamer inside you wants to step on the gas and look for a gap, and you know, the driver, the race car driver, and maybe the rational brain inside you wants to slow down and look for that gap a little bit. And you saw both options being run out there and played out. And unfortunately, some people not going to make it through that one. But we will maybe see if we can have a look here once I can find exactly where. There is Dan Trzynski. So it's going to be Brian Trzynski that had a massive incident there. Let's see if we can have a look and see exactly what it looked like from his cockpit here. We're going to have a look as he comes up on this incident. You can see him looking, and he keeps in the throttle. And it looks like he's going to try, and bam! Scott Russell just appears out of absolutely nowhere right there. So not a whole lot he could do, Ron. He was being actually pretty safe about that, and it just didn't work out.
Yeah, and if you could load up another replay of that from Jim Brewster's perspective,
Sure.
as Stasinski finally coming down to serve that black flag. He got some airtime in all of this. He was one of the other later drivers to arrive at the scene of that accident. He actually clobbered into the side of Brian Stasinski. Here it is, heading down into turn number 6. And there you can see the airtime, turning that Radical SR8 into a monster truck. You know, despite that, he's still running in 8th.
Wow. Yeah, not too shabby at all as we're back to live pictures here. He is in the pit and doesn't look like he's going to be returning here as well. And you get a couple passes on the books here. Jason Grider here is going to be getting around, and this is going to be another pass through traffic. He's going to take that outside line. The 24 gets caught on the inside. I believe that was Dan Trzynski on the inside there. Not able to quite make that one work, but around the outside for Jason Grider makes that one work. So all kinds of traffic to be passed and stuff around here. Not an easy one. And again, just unbelievably hard to keep up in the production booth here with these cars on track doing so much action every lap.
Yeah, what's your thoughts on juggling chainsaws while being lit on fire? That's pretty much what you're having to manage there in the production truck. As yeah, it has been a just insane day here in the 49th Weekend Warriors runoffs. Yeah, I've been around now for the past 8 of them. I'm getting close up there as we see a bad spin there heading out of the bus stop chicane. That's Chris Montgomery. Oh, and he gets hit big time. That was Antonio that hit him. T-bone accident. Let's take a look at this. He nearly, launched that car up in. Oh! Hit at the front of it, exactly where that car is a ram.
Wow. Holy smokes, Ron.
Up in the atmosphere.
Yeah, that was like the jump car, basically. It's got a jump on the front of it, and Antonio Reese just smoked it pretty much straight on there. That was, well, let's just call it an abysmal rejoin there from Chris Montgomery. I guess he didn't look at his relative. Sometimes you feel like you're clear, or that the best option is to get out of the way, and you just kind of step on it hoping, I'm going to clear myself, I don't want to hit anyone, and in doing that, you end up hitting someone, and that's probably what happened there with Chris Montgomery. We know he's a clean driver and knows how to get out of the way in those situations, but back up front here with the SRH, J.R. Gregory struggling a little bit to keep touch here with Tortello and Ian Joyner, but it looks like with that lap traffic, he's able to keep in tow with them and doing a great job up here in third place to hold on to that one, as now he's going to be actually passing, I believe that is Nick Tullo there in the number 7 car. So still passing lots of cars out there. Everybody's fairly spread out after a few incidents here as well. The SRF's getting kind of spread out. Felix Samoa is going to be leading that one from Richard Harwood from Joshua Justice. So we'll keep an eye on this battle here up front. This is going to be our leaders. Then you're going to have to go back to Nathaniel Schramm, who isn't too far behind. He's definitely got the ability to catch up here, but as we know, once you get out of the draft of these particular cars, it becomes very difficult to catch back up to them unless you can kind of find a buddy to draft with. We'll jump on board here with Ian Joyner, and maybe even, what, we're going to jump on board with J.R. Gregory here so we can get a real good look at exactly what it looks like as these drivers up front try to get around now what is going to be our leaders in SRF, getting as close as we possibly can to the wall in these unbelievably visceral SR8s. What an awesome car.
You know, 3 drivers with very different backgrounds who we've got battling for the overall win here as well. Ian Joyner, a part of the Almeida Racing Academy, very quick driver. We've seen him win championships in the Spec Racer Fords. He's also won championships in the Formula Fords as well. It's getting dicey with the lap traffic, having a slice and dice their way through, heading onto the back straightaway, still riding on board with J.R. Gregory. He was able to keep tabs with those 2 Brits right up the road, and now it's going to be a British Civil War heading down into the bus stop chicane. Tortello thought about it on Ian Joyner, who's still going to defend for his life. But we know that Ian Joyner is a multifaceted racer. We know Tortello is a very talented racer, originally born here in the States in New England. Spent time in Japan, lives in the UK, races a Formula V in the UK along with some other racing machinery. He's a quick driver both in iRacing and in real life. JR, our own colleague, broadcast extraordinaire, the voice of the Radicals over on the iRacing channel, and also a driver himself outside of the broadcasting stuff. His own legal career, works quite closely with some of the events that goes on at Portland International Raceway. I actually used to work as a track instructor there, if my memory serves me correctly. I love knowing a lot about these drivers here. I can give some full bios as we've got this good racing, but I'm not sure if we'll be able to focus on the drivers themselves too much, because they're going to give us some battles. I am sure of it. Tortello is all over the back of Ian Joyner right now. You know that he's going to look for a move. JR is going to look for a move here as well. This can get very, very dicey. JR, he's a sports car guy. He knows that he loves his sports cars, and he's showing that right now. He is really quick. It's a bit of a stack up there through the carousel. Joyner, sideways wiggle. You can see the flame spit out of the exhaust as he had to get out of it. That allowed Tullo to check up, and that allowed JR to try and look for it around the outside, heading into turn number 6. Not close enough as they still continue to cut their way through SRF traffic.
Yeah, not an easy prospect out there, and you can see these things like a scalpel cutting through the corners as well as through the traffic there. Just razor sharp steering on these machines. Makes them so fun. It makes you just feel like a superhero. J.R. Gregory really punching above his weight here, keeping up with Ian Joyner and Tortello, doing a great job following them and not letting them get away from him. That lap traffic just adding a little bit to, or taking a little bit away from their lap times, and J.R. Gregory using it as good as possible. As we see now, almost some contact there between the 90 and the 23. They are going to go side by side towards the bus stop here. We will see if they can sort it out. J.R. Gregory may still have a chance here to monopolize on what could be an incident or perhaps a little bit of over-aggressive driving there at the front. We shall see how it goes. But let's jump back here for a moment to our SRFs, Ron, and they're a little bit less frenetic back here in the SRFs, but they are still line astern. They are still racing hard here, and it's really anyone's game in this pack of 3, isn't it?
Yeah, we were talking about the talent pool in the battle for the lead in these Radicals earlier on. Let's talk about the talent pool that we've got here with this gaggle of 3 cars up the front, the Spec Racer Fords. Felix Moas, as I've talked about already here in this broadcast, past champion in the Weekend Warriors. He celebrated his 5-year Weekend Warriors anniversary a little while ago, heading up very close to 6 years here in this series. And although he has taken a bit of a step back over the past couple of seasons to get some more broader experience on iRacing, being part of a new team there as well, Vortex Portugal Motorsports, he's been able to show himself as a strong racer still here in this event. Richard Harwood, another driver with some pretty extensive experience. We always keep an eye on him, was very quick in that race earlier on. Very quick here as well. That Leighton House Spec Racer Ford is always a good prospect to keep our eyes on throughout these Spec Racer Ford races, either here in the runoffs or in the regular Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors races. And Josh Justice there at the tail end as well. Of course, part of Ray Esports and Weekend Warriors royalty. He's been around the block before here in this community, but also a real-life Spec Racer Ford driver. So lots of talent that we've got competing in this event as Jason Grider and that slow motion racing with Dime car gonna get that move done. You'll be able to see Dime Racing and Slow Motion Racing participate in the upcoming season of Sim Racers Group F3 action here on the channel, as Michelle Lynn and Jason Green actually teaming up to try and win the team's championship in that category. As I gotta say, up towards the front. Something bad has gone down with Ian Joyner. He's spiraling his way down the running order, was in the lead. He's got a meatball flag. Disaster has broken out for Joyner.
Yep, he is missing his front clip, so something happened up front here for the 23. He's not going to get, he's going to get some real nice ventilation there in the front and cool himself down, but that is not going to help with the speed out there at all, is it, Ron? And we'll get a replay of that here right away, and it does look like we do have a crash report here, so we're going to have a look. He did get actually behind there of, oh, and he's going to just have a big tank slapper and smack himself into the wall. That was a huge tank slapper, Ron, and pretty much impossible to catch that one, I'd say, from in the car. Little curb action here, I think. Yep, little hop on the curb. Tries as hard as he can there with the gunfighter hands to get it, but unfortunately just going to drive the car straight into the wall on that one. Unfortunate. A little pressure from JR actually there. May have kind of pushed him into that one. Not that it was dirty at all. JR applying some pressure on the inside there made Ian Joyner go a little wide, touch that curb, and unfortunately in the wall now in the pit.
Yeah, no, the real issue that you've got with these radicals, I'm not saying it's an issue, I'm just saying it's kind of like a feature of these cars. Very important to maintain a consistent sort of presence with the arrows. Never mind that. J.R. Gregory looking for the move down the inside. That'll be a shallow approach heading down to the turn, and he gets that spot. J.R. jumping up into the race lead, and now going to have to be on defense as Tortello going to try and get a move done on him here once again to jump into that top spot. Both of these drivers scything their way through the running order. JR up 6 spots from where he started in this race. Tor up 4. Hey, I'm a poet and I don't know it, but these two still going to continue to battle for this race lead. But just a recap on the point that I was going to raise, talking about the quirks and features of this radical. It's always so important, whether it be with that front splitter, the rear wing, or most certainly the diffuser on the back of these cars, to maintain a consistent sort of presence there. If there's any disturbance to it, whether it be a curb or a bump, the handling's going to go away. These Spec Racer Fords, they have the aerodynamic properties of a door wedge. You don't really have to worry about that. The Spec Racer Fords, on the other hand, that little bump mixed the aero imbalance with the weight imbalance as you crested your way up off the racetrack. It kind of feels like you jump off a little cliff when you go into the runoff area of turn number 1, and sadly all of those factors hurting Ian Joyner. He's now down to 5th behind Dan Szynski and Brad Cathcart. Cathcart holding on to the final podium spot. You know how I said keep an eye on him? Well, he's now running in 3rd, so well done to him. Dan Szynski also putting in a fantastic drive, the hard charger of those radical drivers at the moment. 8 spots gained since the drop of the green flag. That is a fantastic run for Dan.
Yeah, a great run for Dan, as you can see there. Brian Szynski actually just screaming by Richard Harwood here on the outside, making up some positions from that incident that he had a little bit earlier on there. And you know, I'm going to go back actually and have a look at this pass from JR. And I know JR has actually spoken about this on numerous occasions here. And this is going to be the one actually where Ian Joyner got pushed a little bit wide. We're going to stick with it here, or not going to stick with it, sorry. We're going to jump to a different pass here if I can find it on Tortello. And this is something you have to learn here around this track, and that is you have to learn how to take this shallow line on the inside through the chicane, and you need to learn how to take it as wide as possible through this chicane. And I know for a fact that is something that JR practices, because he's actually mentioned it before, that you know, to be kind of to be good around here, to be effective around here, you need to know where you can make those passes, and you need to know how you can do them. Go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, JR came down pit lane. JR's in the pits. JR's lost out on the lead here in this race. What has gone down here? He's now out of pit lane, but out of the podium and out of the contention to win.
Yeah, unfortunate. I think if I had to have a guess here, Ron, I'm going to watch this, and I bet you he is going to stop and take a splash of fuel here. And you know what? Truth be known, I actually got a message earlier there. I saw a message from JR asking, how much fuel is it for this race? Question mark. And it looks like perhaps he did not fuel his car up enough. So that is going to be extremely unfortunate for J.R. Gregory, putting in an awesome race today, but still able to hold on to 3rd. So so it'll still be a good result for him here if he can hold on to it. Ian Joyner just behind him, as well as the 24 car of Dan Szynski. So he's got another race on his hands here. It ain't over yet.
Yeah, so it is not over yet, but certainly the chance of winning this race has gone down the tubes. As
Monty
going down with Jörg Monty. That's a crash heading down the backstretch. And here it is. Oh no, he may have had some assistance here. 4 wide. So that wasn't actually it.
Wowzers.
Oh, it was
contact.
actually some assistance there. Another SR8 coming in for the kill. Not sure who that was. Trying to identify exactly what that driver may have been. It may have potentially been Guido.
Another look here. And a bit of a wider shot on it. I believe that's Ian Joyner in the back here. And he is going to squeeze through and, yeah, unfortunately just tap him there. And again, I'm not really sure how to call that one, Ron. Like, you know, you see the gap, you go for it. I think the SRF moved a little bit. He moved in reaction and clipped him, and it's just unfortunate. You know, that's multi-class driving. You know, at the end of the day, you really have to be aware of each other and maybe think twice about squeezing through those little gaps. But unfortunately, that one's going to end with a car on the wall.
Yeah, that is deeply unfortunate. Really, nothing that Jurg could have done there. Just a falling anvil coming down. It's a classic falling anvil going down on him. As we'll say, as all this has been going down, there's been some more drama breaking out. Dan Szynski, he's picked up a meatball flag. He's going off the circuit. I'll look to try and figure out exactly what the deal may have been for him, but clearly a bad moment for Szynski. That was the falling anvil that I was just talking about in reference to Monty, and unfortunately comes down, on Dan Szynski here as well. As yeah, I'm looking back. I believe it was heading out of turn number 1, just overshot it by a country mile, hit the outside wall, and that was enough to give him a meatball flag. So Dan Szynski out of the running to try and do well here in this race. That's a heartbreak. It was running so strong. Brad Cathcart's on track for a P2. As all this has been going on, I kind of said that as a thing just to point out with him running an XSLR. Definitely not as a means of promoting the other shows here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Cue the subscribe button. However, I know that he's a very quick driver and versatile as well. Going from that V to an SR8, that is shock if ever it has been seen in the racing world. So that was kind of my main thought process of thinking, okay, Cathcart, he may not be the quickest car out there on the racetrack, as Tortello is a bit of an alien. However, he's been able to keep it strong. He's been able to keep it smooth. We haven't really seen him get involved in an incident so far here in this race either.
Yeah, no, nice and clean. Yeah, exactly. You know, we mentioned him a couple times, but he's been rather unmentionable out there until he's up in second place, and that's kind of exactly how you want it to be. He's staying out of trouble. He's keeping it clean, and he's able to hold on to second place. Same thing with J.R. Gregory out there, using that clean driving and making good decisions to keep himself in third. Unfortunately, looks like he underfueled his car, or very well could have taken the win today, but I think holding on to a third place after taking a pit stop there is pretty reputable, so not too bad for JR out there as well. Ian Joyner catching up to him pretty rapidly here, is about 3/10 behind him. Then you're going to have to go 20 seconds behind to find Jason Grider after that, so you can see all the attrition happening here today. Kind of a similar story over in the SRFs as well, where you're going to find Felix Samoas, then about a 6/10 gap, and then about 3 seconds, and then it starts to get a little bit closer. You're getting about second gaps in between there, so a little bit spread out in our SRFs as well. Now looking at Tortello here in the military-looking livery here with the, I believe, riveted front end there, and then has the camo in the back with the Warbird paint on the side. Pretty cool stuff there for him. Trying to pick his way now through actually the leaders, I believe, of this SRF race. Richard Harwood there on his outside, so going to make that one happen fairly cleanly. Felix Samoas as well on his outside here, going to be leading those SRFs. So, you know, Tortello making his way through traffic here. We still have a bit of a race happening up front. Perhaps, you know, we'll keep an eye on J.R. Gregory and Ian Joyner here and see if they can catch up that massive gap between Brad Cathcart and themselves before the end of the race. But we are kind of in the wee hours now, aren't we, Ron? So it's going to be a bit of an ask for that to happen. But we'll keep an eye on this SRF race. Looking pretty close out here so far.
Yeah, so things are still in flux throughout this field. We've got this battle for the top spot in our Spec Racer Ford battle. We've also got that battle that we kept our eyes on not too long ago between Michael McConnell and Edgar Sancinelli. Edgar Frito Sancinelli, of course, one of the series admins of the American Muscle Series that we'll be able to catch in about a month's time, returning here to Slow Motion Broadcasting. that subscribe that subscribe button little animation that we have is getting its use here today. But with plugs about as slick as 80 grit sandpaper, we keep our eyes on these battles in the Spec Racer Fords, as well as in the Radicals, as I thought Ian Joyner and Jared Gregory were going to fight. However, they have now just spread apart a little bit. 1.3 seconds is the margin between those drivers as they continue to fight for the final podium spot. However, time is running out here in this race as we take a look at the move that Joyner put on. Let's take a look at it here. An easy peasy, beautiful breezy cover girl.
Whoops, I had my I had my mic muted there, but there's another, classic inside line that you need to practice there, and he's going to do the same thing JR did to him. A little bit later of a move there. He wouldn't call it a dive, but it was definitely late on the brakes there. JR Gregory going to give him the room to make that one happen as well. We'll get back to our live pictures here with JR Gregory. Just kind of trailing now, about 1.3 seconds behind Ian Joyner. He's pulling away a little bit. He's made about a second on Brad Cathcart in front. Don't think he's going to have the time to catch up to him, unfortunately, there today. I'm just looking in the background there. I actually haven't seen that livery today of Jeff Wubker in the BP livery. Doing pretty good out there in 7th place, actually. Keeping the nose clean out there. Having a nice, clean race, getting by all the SRFs in a really nice livery today as well. So, yeah, I mean, just finishing this race, I think, clean and not making contact with anyone is a bit of a win out there today. So, good job for all the drivers here who are entering our final minutes here. Hopefully, we can keep it clean till the end.
Yeah, keep it clean, keep it smooth, and keep it relaxed. Jeff Wubker holding on to 7th right now. It's a good run for him in that BP machine. Whenever I think of BP, I think of Dawn dish soap commercials where they're washing the ducks that are covered in oil. There's a line in the sand, and I just stood on top of it. Here's Felix Samoas and Richard Harwood still battling for the lead in the Spec Racer Ford, dealing with that traffic still, as that's actually going to be Ian Joyner getting the other move done there, and JR going to respond in kind moments later. There is a third driver involved in that battle. However, it's not a car battling for position. It's not a driver battling for position. It's Jason Chen there in the back of shot, currently classed in 21st. He's not on the lead lap to these drivers, so it's not a battle of position. However, how he races over the final few moments could very easily dictate how things go here at the end, as I believe Tortello, where's he out there on the racetrack? I believe he is currently heading his way through the bus stop chicane, or heading up close to it. Yes, there he is. Tortello only a few turns away from grabbing the checkered flag to win it here in race number 2 of the 49th Weekend Warriors Runoffs. It's been a smooth drive for him ever since the SR8 field blew apart a little bit. It's allowed him to check out, drive off into the sunset, and have a very good drive. I think he was under some pressure, though, for sure. Ian Joyner and JR Gregory were laying it on as thick as icing on top of a wedding cake. But Tortello heading his way off through the final turn right now to score the victory here in the Radical as he gets flirtatious to that pit attenuator. Tullo going to grab the checkered flag to win it here in the Radicals.
Yeah, Tullo takes the win today fairly handily there. Not an easy one. Brad Cathcart going to bring it home in 2nd place. Great finish for Brad Cathcart today. Good job, Brad, out there, keeping it nice and clean. Able to come home with a 3rd place. Hopefully we'll have a chance to talk to him at the end here. Ian Joyner going to just get around JR Gregory here in the last 4 or 5 laps. JR Gregory doing an excellent job to stay in touch with Ian Joyner and keep that car clean. Very well could have had that win today, but unfortunately gonna underfuel that car, so he's gonna be kicking himself a little bit, but should be very happy with his performance today nonetheless. Back to our SRF drivers. Felix Samoa is gonna take the win in SRF here. He's just about to get around to the line, hasn't quite made it happen yet. Richard Harwood just behind him. Looks like he's gonna take 2nd place, and then of course Jason Chen with the speed today, but had a little bit of attrition in the beginning. Be a fairly close one here at the line, Ron, for the SRF race, but that is going to be a win for Felix Samoa, as Richard Harwood in 2nd, Joshua Justice not too far behind them, and then you'll find Nathaniel Schramm just behind them as well. So pretty awesome race here today for sure, Ron. Loving to see the SR8s out there having some fun, some more attrition to be sure, but I think that's to be expected in these multi-class sort of fun races, isn't it?
Yeah, it was definitely attrition-packed. Michelle Lynn coming into the YouTube chat and asking how the other racing was For a little bit of Philly terminology to try and describe the other race for you, Michelle. If you're heading north on I-95 right after Penn's Landing, when the traffic from the Vine Street Expressway actually merges in with 95, from there probably through to probably all the way through to Cottman, I think would probably be the other way that I could summarize that racing. Just an absolute madhouse. First race, I think we did see a couple of Formula Vs get sent off to the moon, and second one, bit more tame, but all in all, a pretty wild day here in the 49th Weekend Warriors Runoffs. Tortello burning it down there in turn number 1 as Dan Szynski just had one of the most vicious hits I've ever seen in my life. We may need to load up replay to see what he did. He came in like an...
Oh, there he is.
Oh, that was beautiful.
That was beautiful. Oh my goodness. Oh, so Dan Szynski definitely going to be visiting the infield care center after that one for sure. That was a massive incident, and I'm glad we actually just quickly caught that on screen there. That was pretty funny to see for sure. You know what? I'm not sure. Was that Dan or was that Brian? That was Dan, wasn't it? That was pretty funny stuff for sure. I think maybe Brian also did it here. We're gonna have a quick check here as we do have a crash. Oh no, just blew the engine and then skidded her into the grass. So we like to blow up our cars here at the end. It's just a little bit of a thing we do.
I have rarely been happier. That was perfect timing. That was, oh dearie me. Let's load up the results before I see any more drivers strike the moon. That's oh my goodness gracious. There's actually some donuts being attempted there on the exit of the pits for Dan Szynski as you learn new things about iRacing physics. We are now into season. We're into season 3 now of this season already. So yeah, I lose track of the seasons. When I first started doing this broadcasting stuff, I knew exactly what season we were in. I knew just about everything. Now, though, you get to the point where you do lose track of everything. I don't even know what day it is at the current moment. But let's take a look at your results. I'm still trying to get that image of Dan Szynski's car flying into the barrier there from left to right. That was a jump scare for anyone who wasn't expecting. I knew what was coming, and when I saw it, that was golden, flying like an eagle down into turn number 1. Tortello, though, gets the double. He won in the Vs. He wins in the Radicals. Gets a job done over Brad Cathcart in P2. Ian Joyner runs at your podium in 3rd. J.R. Gregory put in a very valiant effort to end up in 4th. Jason Grider is in P5. Guido Marzucchi is in 6th. Jeff Lubker in P7. Dan Szynski wins our hearts with a fantastic jump there at the end. He ends up in 8th. Brian Szynski in 9th. So kind of a win there for Dan in the other brotherly duel. However, both of them had their fair share of falling anvils in this race, so I'm not sure how much that counts, but hey, we'll let them decide that. Felix Samoes wins it in the Spec Racer Fords in the meantime, running at your overall top 10.
Yeah, and then we're going to find Richard Harwood in 2nd place for the SRF today. Joshua Justice will take 3rd. Nathaniel Schramm in 4th. Daniel Sardo 5th. Rich Meester 6th. In 7th, we have Jimmy Litbaka in 8th. Steve Saunders, Mr. Steve Saunders, apparently, or Steve Saunders, Mr. Michael McConnell will round out that. I believe that was 6th place. We'll keep going here. And actually, that's going to be the end of our... oh, no, it isn't. Nope, maybe my screen's just not working, and it seems to be catching up. Now we have Edgar Sancinelli, then we'll have Adam Bradshaw. Jason Chen out there with, had some speed at the beginning, didn't he, Ron? But I think befell some issues there, and unfortunately and ended up kind of farther behind. Adam Bradshaw, then Jorg Mani. Jim Brewster is going to find himself out of this one. Nick Tullo, as well as Chris Montgomery, Antonio Reese, and Kane Lasky not going to finish this one up. A bit of attrition in this one as well. Ron, these week 49 races, they're for fun. We get out there and have a little bit of fun, perhaps let the hair down a little bit, and sometimes that can cause a bunch of incidents, can't it? Oop. And I think
this weekend Warriors Runoffs was quite wild. Yeah, we're going to ignore the fact that I had my microphone muted for the first few words.
Hey,
this was a wild one. I had a whole lot of fun, but let's round off the day, shall we, by having a chat with some drivers. I think the first one that I want to speak to, I'm trying to figure out how we go about all this.
Maybe
Well,
pull JR
we'll
in
speak
maybe here. couldn't we?
first. Yeah, with JR. I think Josh, I'll pass the mic off
Sure.
to you to have a chat with JR. Sound like a plan?
Yeah, sounds good, man. I'll drag
Alrighty.
him down here if I can. Oh, we got him in here already. JR, pretty awesome race out there today, man. You definitely had the pace. Looks like maybe you had to grab a little bit of fuel at the end there, but huge congrats, man, for the pace you had out there today, being able to keep it clean and really turning the screws to some of the fastest drivers out there. So congrats, man, even though, just missed out on a podium. Excellent race. Looked like it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, mixed bag for sure. And I'll tell you, I don't know, Josh, how much you've studied the internal combustion engine, but the key is really hidden in the name, combustion, which requires combustible material like fuel. And that was my oversight. I didn't put in enough. But yeah, super fun, man. And I'm kind of looking forward to watching it. I was driving pretty aggressively, I feel like, but I'm not sure if a lot of these other drivers have a lot of mixed class experience handling traffic and stuff like that. And so, I was just trying to make stuff happen in traffic and trying to be brave and push through to the lead. I would have loved to have known how that could have turned out if I had enough gas.
Yeah, I mean, it was excellent to watch there, and you did, just like you said there, you're applying really good pressure when it mattered. We saw a couple passes there. You kind of turned the screws on Ian Joyner on the inside. He clipped a curb and lost it, and then after that, you were really able to just kind of attach and stay close, and unfortunately had to pit for that fuel. But, driving around here, actually, we were also mentioning that inside line, that you just have to learn going into the bus stop there. You need to be able to take those shallow lines, and I know you and me have actually spoken about it before, and you made that one work for you today, and then actually had it done on you after that by Ian Joyner. So pretty fun track, and man, this car's fun. Maybe you tell us a little bit about the car and exactly how you need to kind of handle this one.
I have a lot of SR10 experience, high-strung four-cylinder turbo. When the boost comes on, they get very, very squirrely, and I actually found this car a lot easier to drive. The power delivery, much flatter. It's a V8, and the car just it seemed a lot more friendly, and some things that would be maybe unjustifiable risks in the newer car, the SR10, no problem in this thing. It was eating up the curbs, no problem. You mentioned hitting that red anti-cut curb on the entry to the bus stop there, and that can be a little iffy in the newer car, but this thing was just eating them up. Super fun car. I'd never driven it before in a race, and I really enjoyed it.
Awesome. Yeah, it's been years for me. I used to love this car and race in it whenever I could in officials, and when it went away, it was a pretty sad day for me. The thing is definitely a scalpel out there, and you can see the way that it's cutting through traffic and stuff. Just an awesome one. But JR, good race today for sure. Good, put a lot of pressure on some of the faster drivers out there. Maybe before we let you go there, I'll let you thank whoever you'd like and leave us with some final thoughts.
Well, thank you guys, of course. It's gave me a warm feeling knowing that the kind of dream team was back together with you and Ron in the booth for this. So thanks to you guys. Can't wait to watch the show. Thanks to SMB and of course to Ray Esports for putting this on. Really great idea. This is the first one I've done, but something kind of low pressure without grinding out a bunch of practice, just kind of arrive and drive and have fun. It really great concept, and so thanks to everybody really who was involved in putting this event on. It was a lot of fun.
Awesome, JR. Great running out there. Hopefully we'll see you back up in the booth and on the track sooner than later, and we'll catch you soon, man. Always good to see you out there.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see you guys soon.
Later, bro.
And that right there was our own J.R. Gregory joining us here in the booth. I want to have a chat with Tortello here, who was able to get the double, one in the V's, wins in the Radicals, and probably the best case of whiplash that I've seen in racing. Tor, welcome into the booth. How was it going from the Formula V to the Radical? That feels like sort of like weaning a baby off breast milk and going to vodka.
Well, I mean, you couldn't put it any better. It's just an absolutely bizarre difference, especially on the same track. I mean, you can really feel that speed differential. And I really didn't expect to even feature in the Radicals, but yeah, I just somehow found the pace and somehow got pretty lucky with the win.
Yes, I end up again the victory in both. I want to ask you about how it is dealing with the lap traffic in both situations, because I noted this before we headed off into the second race that for you Formula V racers that were kind of bullied around by those F4s in race one, the shoe was going to be on the other foot. So how was it just dealing with lap traffic in a league where a lot of the drivers, I think it's fair to say, don't usually have to deal with multi-class lap traffic?
Well, I mean, this league's just full of a bunch of really clean drivers, and everyone was quite courteous. There were maybe like a few hairy moments, but nothing too bad. I mean, the F4s were fine, and the SRFs stayed out of the way. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't have asked for anything better.
Yes, it worked out well for you here in this race. I think I asked you this 1 week ago for the Formula V season finale, but I don't even remember where my keys are, so I probably forgot your answer. I know we're heading off into the summer now, so it's probably going to get busy with your own racing schedule. Are we going to see you run in the sort of Weekend Warriors Summer Challenge that we have coming up? We got the Formula Vs as part of a pretty fun rotation for that schedule.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'll try and make as many of them as I can, try and run a full season. I mean, I've got season 1, season 2, so I'm going to try and go for season 3.
Go for the year-long sweep, man. Sounds like a plan. But Tor, we'll let you give any thank yous or shout-outs before we let you go and celebrate.
A big thank you to Necroneville as usual, and a big thank you to Ian Joyner. It was a good battle at the front there, and I'm really honored to be been able to race with him, and to you guys at SMB.
Yeah, thank you as well for joining us here in the booth, Tor, as always. And we'll see you back out there on the racetrack, wherever and whenever it is in the not-too-distant future.
Thank you. Take care.
And that right there was Tortello, our race winner here in the Vs and in the Radicals. Josh, I'll pass the mic off to you and ask who you would like to have a chat with next.
Yeah, maybe let's pull in our winner of Felix Samoas here from the SRFs, and we'll have a little chat with him here if I can't grab him and drop him in here. Felix, pretty awesome race out there. I haven't seen you in a little while. It's great to see you back and able to get that multi-class win today with those Radical SR8s flying by you there, making the clench factor, I'm sure, a little higher than usual, but able to get that win anyway. So good to see you back, man, and great win.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it was fun. It was good to be back. Although now I am focused on other series on iRacing, so I'm not doing the Weekend Warriors anymore. But it's always nice to be here and hang out with everybody in Discord. It's a good bunch of people. It's always fun to be back.
Yeah, always, for sure. And maybe actually you could let us know about that series that you're in, and maybe the team you're driving with a little bit. I'll give you the floor here. You can maybe talk about your team a little and the series that you're in quickly.
Yeah, so I joined Vortex Portugal Motorsports a few months back, and we are more focused on GT races and sport prototypes with the Lara and GTP. So I raced the Lara now, the LMP2. I did the 24 hours, Majors 24. Was fun. Was my first 24 hours race ever. Although I've been in the service since the beginning, but I never did distance endurance races. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. I'm enjoying it. It's a good passionate people.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's really cool. You're getting into some endurance stuff for sure. For me, when I did, a few years ago, did my first endurance race, it really opened up a new layer of sim racing and iRacing to me that it's just so much fun to get together with your friends and practice and then actually take an event like that on where you sit and support each other, and it's just a whole nother layer of immersion. So pretty cool to hear that you're involved in that, and we wish you the best there. Maybe you can give us a quick kind of overview of exactly how you get one of these races done, or maybe your lap around Watkins Glen there. What are you thinking around here? I know personally I'm clenching every time I get near that bus stop. Is that a bit of a point of contention for you there, or is this a track that you're pretty good at?
On this, yeah, I like Watkins Glen, and on this car with this version of the track, the bus stop it's quite okay, because the inside, so the entry, the curve on the right side, it's pretty flat, so you can just go straight over it, and then the car kind of lands and kind of you just point the wheels and the car rotates to complete the bus stop. to go around to the left. So it's quite easy. It was way more
nice.
tricky with the Formula 4 than it is with the spec racer.
Right, yeah, Spec Racer takes that bump a little nicer. I haven't really had much practice around Watkins Glen since they changed the curbs here, so it's interesting to hear your perspective on that one. I haven't really had a chance to do it. It seemed a little more rowdy before than it is now, but it was. Okay, I'm definitely going to have some laps around there. But before we let you go here, Felix, great win today. Good to have you back, and we'll let you give a thanks to anybody you'd like to here before we let you go.
Yeah, so I would like to thank again Vortex and for all the support and the sponsors, Track Titan and Grid Art for the skins. Yeah, and then as usual, everybody taking part in these races, the organizers, the admins, keeping organizing all this for free and for all of us to have fun, and you guys in the booth. It's always fun to go back and rewatch the broadcasts.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Felix. It's great to see you back out there on track, and good win today. We'll catch you next time. Have a good one.
Yeah. Ciao.
And that right there was Felix Samoa as our winner in the Spec Racer Fords. Although this next driver didn't get the opportunity to taste the champagne in either of the races he participated in, he still had a very valiant effort. I think finished P2 in the both of them, are very close to it. That being Richard Harwood, who's joining us in the booth right now. Richard, welcome in. It was a pretty good day for you here in this event. Did well in the F4s, do well here in the Spec Racer Fords. How was it out there?
Yeah, it was awesome fun. I think I ended up with a P2 in both of the races. Really with battling for P1 on the last lap of both races as well. So, yes, a lot of fun. I mean, the multi-class is just something I love, both on the sim and lucky enough to have experience of doing it in real life too. And it's just a whole extra dimension to racing. It's absolutely brilliant fun, and I thoroughly enjoyed today.
Yeah, it looked like a blast out there. I want to ask you, though, real quick, kind of to start off the interviews, we had a chat with J.R. Gregory and Tortello, who went the alternate route here in this race, ran the Formula Vs, and then went over into the into the Radicals for the second race. You went about the opposite way, started off running in those very quick and very exciting F4s, and then moved off into the Spec Racer Fords. I want to ask you, how exactly was the transition going from that F4 race into the Spec Racer Ford one?
Yeah, I mean, it took a few laps to adjust for sure. I mean, I've never really driven the F4 before, but it's just like a go-kart. It just goes where you point it. And then you get back into the SRF and it's kind of wallowing around, and it takes a few laps to adjust, but I'm much more familiar with that car, so it was the right way around for me to do it, because I could just hop in, and after a couple of laps I was where I needed to be pace-wise. The adjustment was less about the car switch, but just switching from being the hunter to the hunted. That was the biggest switch in approach.
Yeah, I think it was definitely the mental games that had to be played here in this race were certainly tough. But I do want to ask you about the future here in the Weekend Warriors. Of course, we're heading off into the summer. We're going to be running the kind of Weekend Warriors Summer Shootout Showdown. I'll need to get the official name for it, or some like snazzy name to it.
That sounds good.
Yeah, it's. I think we'll have to workshop the other name around just a little bit. Have some alliteration in there. It's got to roll off the tongue like rich gooey molasses. But are we going to be seeing you out there on the racetrack in a wide variety of cars this upcoming season, or maybe got to just pick up in and run the Spec Racer Fords only? Or
yeah, I hope so. It's just based on my availability. I'm not around every weekend, but I will endeavour to be there regardless of what the car is, because it's just a great series to be part of.
Awesome, man. Well, we'll be looking forward to seeing you back out there on the racetrack, hopefully throughout most of the summer. But Richard, before we let you go and celebrate this fantastic run, probably the best average finishing position here today, we'll let you give any thank yous or shout outs.
Just to everyone involved. It's such a great series. All the drivers very, very courteous, some very quick people as well. You guys put on a great show. I know that people sponsoring us to get that done and make this the spectacle that it is. So it's always great to look back on the races. I always look back on them. So yeah, thanks to just everyone involved for making it such a great series. And yeah, see you in whatever car it ends up being and whatever named series you come up with in the summer.
Right on.
Yeah, sounds good, Richard. We'll hope to see you back out there on the racetrack, wherever it is, whenever it is, and whatever it's called in the not too distant future.
Absolutely, I can't wait for the uncertainty of that. Let's go.
It's gonna be fun, Richard. Thank you for joining us, and well done today.
Thank you. See ya.
And that right there was Richard Harwood, our second place finisher in both of the races he ran in today. Another strong driver throughout the event was Josh Justice. He's the final driver up there in the interview waiting area. So, Josh, I'll pass the mic off to you to have a chat with Josh. Josh on Josh. Yeah. This is a Josh and Josh interview. The Josh and Josh show.
The Josh and Josh interview. Josh, this is Josh. How's it going out there, man? It was a pretty awesome race. You're able to take a third place in this second race here. Not an easy one with those SR8s flying by you, and the clench factor definitely getting a little bit higher. But maybe you can tell us exactly how you were able to make that one happen today.
Yeah, so the Formula 4 race went pretty bad for me. I was sitting there in a podium position and had basically wound up in a position where I had clean air for the first time. Didn't have the aero push, and when the bus stopped and when the weight transfer, the tail went out from behind me. Fire and finished in the back. So, getting the SRF race, I was like, okay, I just need to hold it together, stay in the draft, and not get broken up. So I got off with a pretty good start and just stayed in the pack. Whip was not pushing very clean, so I kind of let Whip by. I said I'll sit behind Whip and feel it and go for it. And all week long I was sitting there coming up that hill headed to the bus stop. I could time the run. I wanted to be in third on the final lap. I wanted to be in that line in third place because I felt like if I was in that line in third place, I would be the first one to bus stop. Again, I guess with about 10 minutes left, we caught up with a couple of lap cars, and one of them tried to do the right thing and let it by, and unfortunately, the way he held the inside, he didn't back off hard enough, and I was forced to go around him and lose time. And that compounded with the multi-class nature of the race, where the SR8 caught in the bus stop, and coming out of the bus stop, I no longer had to draft to the top two. And to his credit, he did try to bump draft me back up them, but when you lose a draft in the bet race, or especially on a track extremely draft heavy as Watson Glen is, you just don't really have an opportunity in 10 minutes to get back up. If it had been a multi-hour endurance race with pit stop and stuff, there would have been more, more chances for the SR8 load on either down. But it just didn't happen, and it's just unfortunate. But that multi-class racing, that's what happened when you kept lap cars and you get all kind of in one race. What you sign up for when you sign up for multi-class race, that something may impact your race. And, maybe I should have gone for a pass to try to be in the front of that group before we caught the lap cars. So that was maybe a tactical error on my part. But one of those things where you think, okay, I want to be in third, the safe spot, the best spot to be for the final lap, and we are nearing the end of the race. I guess wrong on the strategy, and unfortunately it meant I didn't have an opportunity on the last lap at all. It happened.
Yeah, it is unfortunate, and I know for sure, Joshua, exactly what you're saying there, that it is all about kind of timing and rhythm to get that pass right. You try to line it up for the end of the race, and of course in this multi-class, the ebb and flow of it's not always going to work in your favor, and unfortunately just enough of a gap there to get out of the draft and not be able to execute that strategy from third place to first by the bus stop. And I know exactly how that feels. It's not easy to do. Yeah, go ahead.
Hindsight, in hindsight, maybe, I should have tried to do the strategy of, I want to be in the front of the pack anytime the pack is being interfered with. But I had kind of mentally already gotten out of multi-class move into set up for the final lap move, and I just did that too early, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes with this, you want to either be the guy braking traffic, or sometimes you want to be the guy behind and allowing them to break traffic. And you never really know how that one's going to work out, especially in this multi-class sort of thing here. And the SRFs being such a high draft heavy car. I'm just watching some of the replay here while we're doing the interview. Lots of side-by-side racing in the early laps there. But we are going to be moving on to a series here on Sundays where we'll be rotating some machinery from a few different Weekend Warriors staples there. The SRF, the V, maybe some MX-5s. Will you be joining us on those Sundays coming up soon?
Yeah, I think so. All three of the traditional Weekend Warrior cars as well as the Miata. So each of the three cars that were used to run in Weekend Warrior will run three races, and there'll be Miata for 3 races. So it's going to be interesting to see, first off, how many people are actually going to run the whole series. I think a lot of people will, because a lot of us have run in multiple Weekend Warrior series before. So I don't think you'll see very many people showing up only for one car. I do think you'll see a lot of people running multiple cars. It'll just be really interesting to see the dynamics of it, particularly in the very lap-heavy cars like the Formula V and the Pet Racer. Really the Formula V and the Miata are probably the two heaviest lap cars. The Pet Racers all go pretty lap heavy. I feel like the Formula 4, you have more pace differential between drivers, and while it is lap heavy in the abstract, the field tends to get strung out more. I don't know, it'll be interesting to see the dynamic, especially in Formula V, because we usually have about 20 people in GOAT races, and I think we're going to end up with a bigger grid running Formula V.
Yep.
And that will really change the dynamic, I think.
Yeah, I agree. You're going to get a little bit of cross-pollination probably too. Some people from Vs trying out some SRFs, and some people from SRFs trying out some Vs, and it should be a pretty interesting one. So we'll be happy to see you out there for sure, Joshua. But before we let you go here, is there anybody you'd like to thank here? You're our final guy that we're interviewing, so we'll let you have the floor here quickly and give your thanks out.
I really like to thank everybody involved in putting on the event. TV Pit, when he picked Watson Quinn, I saw that short come up. I was like, oh no, this is going to be a disaster. But, we got practice with the F4 and the FB, and I was like, okay, this actually looked like it should work. You have the big open corners, with huge amounts of runoff. The faster car can take the long way around. I do think maybe Formula 4 would have been a better pick for mixing with F4, a little bit less speed differential. But, in the front of the F4 pack, I think it'll mostly wrecking each other and ourselves, and not the multi-class. So, I think it was more of a problem in the mid-pack and the back of the pack, maybe. But, I think it was overall a pretty good experience, and I'd be happy to run this format back again next season if TV decide that's what you want to do. I know you like to come up with a new format every time, but it was a really good format, I think. The point system needs a little tweaking, but the format is excellent.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I think I'd like to see this one run back as well. It's a little chaotic up here in the booth to keep up with it, but I think if we got some practice at it, we might be able to execute it a little bit better. Obviously, we had a bit of a there in the first race that usually wouldn't happen, perhaps. So, that kind of messed the V field up. But thank you so much, Joshua, for the kind words and stuff there. And hopefully we'll see you on Sundays for every race. And we'll let you go, man. Have a good weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Right on. Then that was... go ahead, Ron.
I was just going to say, and that right there was Josh Justice joining us here in the broadcast booth. The last of the interviews, we want to thank the drivers for stepping in here. And, during the interviews, I actually thought this over. Here's a good idea. Sunday Summer Showdown. It's got that alliteration that I always like. The Weekend Warriors Sunday Summer Showdown. That may be what we got going on. But Josh, these Week 13 broadcasts obviously mean a lot, of course, in the Weekend Warriors world. It's a celebration of another fantastic season of great racing, wonderful community, and a great race here as well. Also for us here at Slow Motion Broadcasting, I know for me personally with my very busy schedule, it feels like the end of a new season and the start of another.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is going to be a pretty great idea here to sort of bring the community together. We're going to shorten, you don't have to practice quite so many tracks for a little bit and stuff. And then come season 4, we're going to try to re-rack the whole thing and go again. And hopefully it'll be a little breath of fresh air for everybody. We can get a little cross-pollination between the Vs and the SRFs and some people jumping in for the Miatas. And I think it's just a great idea here. And Stevie's done a pretty cool thing. This weekend as well was pretty awesome. I really like the way that they or the classes that they picked. I think they could work, like Joshua Justice said. I think it could actually be something that could work really well. So yeah, I've had a good time doing this. I know you did as well, Ron. And we have all kinds of stuff coming up here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. The return of the American Muscle Series is coming up. SRG, F4, and F3 will be returning. We also have another in-house sim center, SKR Sim Night Racing, will be joining us here on Slow Motion Broadcasting on Wednesday nights, I believe, and that first round coming up very soon as well. We'll have lots more information about that XSLR with its return and much more, Ron. We have some special events in the works, maybe even a Euro NASCAR series. We might be doing an endurance race with the Mustangs. All kinds of stuff coming up, and I'm excited about it for sure. And I like the name of that you just came up with there for sure. We're gonna have to pitch that one, most definitely, Ron. But before I say bye, I'd just like to say thanks to everybody out there who got this one done. Thank you, Ron. Thanks to Stevie and all the drivers out there. And unfortunately, in my family, we had the passing of my Nana Wilkie, so I'm gonna dedicate this one to her and rest in peace up there. Thank you so much for everything you did for me and the family, and we'll miss you dearly. Thank you, Nana Wilkie. And I'll leave this one for you, Ron. You can close her up.
Well, so usually at the end of these broadcasts, I would do some sort of shtick, but my thoughts are still with you and the family upon the
that's okay. You can still do it.
Just about a week ago. See, it's very rare that I have to be serious on these broadcasts. It feels quite unnatural. It's like my bones are sitting in vinegar. But folks, it's another fantastic season of Weekend Warriors action. It's another fantastic season of action here on Slow Motion Broadcasting between the Weekend Warriors, Sim Racers Group, the American Muscle Series, XSLR, SKR Sim Racing, based not too far out of the city of Philadelphia, not too far away from my home base. You may be able to see me at some of those in the not too distant future, but still a lot of action to look forward to here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Of course, I want to thank you, Josh. I want to thank all the drivers and the community in the Weekend Warriors. All of you tuning into these broadcasts week in and week out. We always have some of the liveliest chats on these Weekend Warrior shows. We all owe you a debt of gratitude for tuning into the action week in and week out. Of course, I want to thank the rest of the staff and crew that we've got here at Slow Motion Broadcasting, one of the most talented and dedicated ensembles in all of esports broadcasting. We've got some of the best crew here, and Josh and I are just simply the nose cone of the rocket. Our thanks to Whiplash Simcamps as well for providing the wonderful camera angles that we bring to you all season long here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. And if you'd like to learn more about us and what we can do for you here at SMB, how about you join the Slow Motion Broadcasting Discord server to get in contact with us. If you want your league race broadcasted, we're the men to reach out to. And if you'd like to join in on some of the action that we've got here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, you can join the Discord server, and we'll get you in touch with the folks to either be out here on the racetrack for the Weekend Warriors, American Muscle Series, SRG, you name it, and we've got action for you here on SMB. But as for this broadcast here, for the 49th Weekend Warriors Virtual Runoffs, that will just about do it. So for myself, Ron Maunz, and Josh Wilkie working the comms and the cams with me on today's show, I say thank you all so very much for tuning into the action here all season long on Slow Motion Broadcasting, and we hope to see you all for the start of Season 3 of 2026 in about 2 days' time. Take care, everybody. We'll see you on Tuesday for the Sim Racers Group F4 Series.